Belichick going to catch Shula? I never thought this was going to happen. I think he's going to catch Shula. He needs like 3 8-win seasons.
Yep.
Looks like he's well on his way to at least getting one of them. Although I think he's like 24 or something like that behind Don Shula. All-time victories. Wow. There was a time years ago when people would ask that question, is anybody ever going to break Don Shula's record? And I thought, no way, that nobody would be in the game long enough. But Belichick, he seems determined. I think even if he is deceased, he will retain through some kind of bizarre arrangement with Bob Kraft, who's inclined to get involved in bizarre arrangements, as evidenced by his visit to the Asian spa. But I would imagine he would be inclined to go ahead and, be in a condoning position of Belichick still coaching the team while deceased so that he could eclipse the Shula record. What would they count that, or does that get an asterisk if you're dead when you pass the record? Finally, there's a reason for an asterisk. All right, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you here.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on this Degenerate Friday. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz wrapping up a week here on the Defo Show, but doing it in style. And as Nora O'Donnell always says, as she starts the news, we have a lot of news to get to. We have a lot of degeneracy and degenerate activity to get to here on the program. So we're going to get to it fairly quickly, including a trip out to Keeneland. Now, we are unable to get the video going because this great young lady is going to be all over the track, so to speak, like probably many of my horses later on the card, just all over the track. But the lovely Caton Bredar, one of the outstanding, journalists in thoroughbred racing, and then, of course, one of the great handicappers, and a horse whisperer. She talks to the animals.
Yes.
They speak back to her. They say, yes, Caton, I'm ready to roll today. You know what? That 4 ball doesn't look like crap to me. I'm going to mow him down in the stretch. And don't worry about the Baffert monster either. No, it's great. I mean, you get really good inside information. And on top of that, straight from the horse's mouth, literally, with Caton Bredar. She's going to join us here in just a few minutes from Lexington, Kentucky, where the Breeders' Cup gets underway today. The first of the 14 races, 5 of them. The first 5 of the 14 races will be conducted today as the back end of the Keeneland card. As the horses, it was a weird schedule there. They're at Keeneland for the fall meet, which wrapped up this past Saturday. They go down to Churchill Downs the next day and start racing for a week. And then they're right back to Keeneland today for the 2-day session that is the Breeders' Cup. Tomorrow is the big spectacular with the Classic and all of that. But here's a chance to make a giant score. One of the beauties of this, if you're a degenerate, and even if you're a casual player, is you will see horses listed in the morning line at 20-1 that are undefeated, have won 6 straight, won the Arc de Triomphe, whatever. I mean, won big, meaningful, graded stakes races in Europe and all around the country from different tracks. And you're getting phenomenal odds because they're in there literally competing against the best, and it's going to be spectacular. I'm looking at the races today, which begin with the 6th. This is all 2-year-old racing today. They position it so that the 2-year-olds all race in the 5 races that take place on the Friday preceding the big card, and then all of the other categories will go tomorrow, and that'll be 9 races of the entire card there. I don't know how many they run. They might run 10 or 11. It gets going early in the morning. Today, I believe these races start at about 2:30 in the afternoon, so plenty of time to do the lunchbox and then jog on over to the nearest pari-mutuel wagering facility. And I think I'm going to indulge in a Breeders' Cup pick 5 today.
Nice.
Well, I mean, look, the odds of hitting the Powerball, and they're going to have to ante up another 20, so I'll be out $60 on Powerball just because the jackpot was over $1 billion. Like the standard, everybody says the same thing. Well, geez, 20 million wouldn't have been enough for you? Well, why are you only playing when it's over $1 billion? Because for that kind of money, you got to take a shot with the 20, I don't know how you feel about it. Are you at least willing to, for you, maybe proportionally, you might throw, what, $2 towards it, Lubie?
No, we threw 10. What was it? 2 days ago, $10. I don't know what you say. Redoes it. Comes out Saturday. Maybe we'll do it again Saturday.
Saturday's the next one. Look, if you've already invested a few bucks in it, why not throw a few more at it? It's a ridiculous bet. You may as well put the money up in smoke. You're hoping they really do deliver on their promise that it's going to aid education and other charitable causes, possibly. But we know that money goes straight into the pockets of the politicians so they can run more insipid, hideous, ridiculous, inconsequential in terms of any issues ads, right?
Yes.
I mean, nobody ever says anything in these ads. Yeah, he's a right-wing fascist and he's a complete asshole. And then that guy's ads are, well, she's, a lefty commie pig and a complete asshole. All right, so we have a choice between two complete assholes. That's pretty much it, right?
Yes.
Why do I feel like my votes for the Democrats here are just, may as well buy Powerball tickets and just throw them down the sewer. I feel defeated before I even walk in there to the voting booth, which I'm going to do on Tuesday. I'm going to walk right across the street here. I don't even have to cross the street. I just punch a number on a gate, walk onto the church property, and boom, the room is right there, and there's nobody there. It was absolutely empty the last time I voted in the whatever that was, the preliminary round there. And now coming back and feeling totally defeated. And, of course, me, the prince of procrastination, Lubie, I've done no research on any of the other things.
Of course.
I always vote for the Jewish judges. Thinking,
you're the anti-Kyrie and Kanye.
Especially in Florida. Speaking of Jewish, I mean, I could have become anti-Semitic myself, actually. After and you were privy to some of this, yesterday's argument.
That was my favorite text. I'm like, what?
I've mentioned this a zillion times. It kind of makes it fun. I really believe this. Even if you have $5 on a game, it creates some interest, right? When I watched portions of 2 FIU football games late at night on a Friday, at any time ever, maybe when Butch was coaching a team, Ron Turner we were friends with when he was coaching a team prior to Butch, you check in and see, are these guys really making any progress? Or it just happened to be the only thing on. It's a local team, Florida International University.
You were going drive by drive Monday.
Yeah. Following this thing and trying to do the extrapolations there, from the third quarter on. Well, let's see. If they hold them to a field goal here and then they come back and get a safety and then can eat up about 6 minutes on the clock, there's a chance they go to overtime and I can possibly, lock into a situation where I can't lose. As long as there are no touchdowns scored.
Exactly.
I'm thinking, why am I watching this game with this interest? Because I have a marginal amount of money on it based on my straight-up betting with Francesco, my buddy, who lives in Melbourne now. And so, anyway, yesterday he sends me, you have the Texans plus 9.5. Why don't you just ram a rod right up my ass there? I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the Texans plus 9.5 because the line is 14.
How do you?
I'm like, where are you getting 9.5? Now, I always tease him that he gets his lines out of the Jewish Journal, and the joke is not about the Jews or anything because I am Jewish, so understand that, people.
As well.
And I'm somewhat insensitive. I mean, I've been called everything, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, but we did it, in good-natured fashion, right? Mm-hmm. Some guy called you some Jewish slang word that was not necessarily meant to be flattering. It was like, yeah, you, Irish guy, yeah, you Mick bastard. I mean, what do I care about what you say about the Jews? I didn't. I really didn't. That was just part of the fanfare at the time in the 50s. That's the way things were. We lived in melting pot, eclectic neighborhoods, and, there was division, but at the same time, everybody was kind of in there meshed together, right? Fighting the same fight. And, what did you want to do? You wanted to play punch ball or win some marbles or flip some baseball cards, steal a bike, whatever it was. We all had a good time together, and we didn't have this, overwhelming sensitivity to things. But anyway, it was enough, really, as, I was looking at this 9.5 proposition that the guy was giving me. And I said, where did you get these lines? Out of the Jewish Journal? That's my running joke with him because it's like a monthly publication or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just outdated. That's the whole point, is that it's outdated.
Yeah. I mean, it could be anything that runs.
There was never a point this year that Philadelphia coming into the season was thought to be a Super Bowl contender. The Texans in the season was known to be a disaster.
They had Lovie Smith coaching a team. I mean, just you talk about a sacrificial lamb. Unbelievable. Now people are going to say that I'm saying that black people should be, sacrificed. No, I mean, that's how it goes. So anyway, no sensitivity about the Jews, but it was enough to make you an anti-Semite. This guy's argument coming out of whatever line he got from the Jewish Journal there, that somehow this game was going off at 9.5 when everybody had it. It finally went off, I think, 13 and a hook.
Yes.
It dropped down from the 2 touchdowns. Now, what did all of our handicappers tell us about this game, including Brandon Lang yesterday on our Believe podcast? Double digits being offered up as a home dog.
Yeah.
you just have to take it. It doesn't matter how lopsided. I mean, you have the Eagles coming in at 7-0, Cinderella City, and you have the Texans. Were in there, I believe, at 1-6-1 going into the game last night, and they're horrible. Right? They tied like Indianapolis or something on opening day, and that was an ugly game. I don't know who they beat, but in all of their other games, they look completely inept. They're playing a nondescript quarterback.
Yep.
Who is this guy? I never heard of him.
Mills. He's out of California. He's actually pretty solid. He was really good in college, and he was drafted with a lot of expectations. But he's not supposed to be their future guy. Like, he's not supposed to be their franchise guy, and he's still young.
He looked like Ichabod Crane out there. I don't know. He was 6 for 7 at one point, but I happened to tune in with the pass that he blew. So, fortunately, Houston scored first in the game, so they're up 7-0. So now, if you're getting the legitimate line, you're up almost 3 touchdowns. And the hook was the danger, because there was a strong possibility that the Eagles were at least a couple of touchdowns better on paper and in any form of analyses, that they were at least a couple of touchdowns better than the Houston Texans. Now, they ended up winning the game by 12 points. Hallelujah. I finally convinced Francesco that it was either going to be 13 in a hook or he could have the other side. That was it.
Yeah.
And so I lost interest in the game because I started watching a World Series, and that was going back and forth and looked like obviously a pivotal Game 5, right, Lubie? Pivotal Game 5. It was pivotal, and Game 6 will be equally pivotal because Philadelphia's either going to pivot all the way back to Philadelphia and be done for the year, or they're going to play a Game 7. So once again,
it was like, you want to know game's really pivotal? Game 8. That game's super pivotal considering it doesn't exist.
All right, we're going to pivot directions here and talk about equine athletes, and we're going to talk with one of the great people that we've ever had on the program. In fact, I'm still surprised that she would, distinguish us with these visits, and it could be career threatening for her, and she has so much going that to put this much at risk, I mean, shows you that this is a long shot player here, and we love her. The beautiful and talented Caton Bredar joins us here on the program, all the way from Lexington, Kentucky. We're unable to connect with the video here today because she's running around probably on the backstretch right now. Hey, Bob, you got a minute? Talking about one of these Baffert monsters. The lovely Caton Bredar joins us here on the show. Caton, how are you, my friend?
I am good, but not so lovely at this moment, as we're still in the transitional stage of getting ready from the morning to the afternoon.
Well, you've been looking great, man, on the tube. There's no question about it. And, wow, just outshining all of these guys that are trying to come up with winners during the Keeneland meet. Brilliant coverage there. All right. Are you on the backstretch now? Are you out there at the track under the cover of darkness? What's happening?
I am not. Today is the one day, because we get started pretty early. I'll be on the FanDuel set and the player show set about 11 o'clock. So I'm at the hotel getting ready to head back. But we've otherwise been every morning either at Churchill or here. And I can't tell you how nice it's been, Jeff. It's amazing. They actually, Mother Nature cooperated. That never happens, but it's been beautiful. We've had temperatures like very mild for this time of year, and some incredible horses, and just ready for the big show.
Yeah, you know what? I'm hoping that's my final scene. It is a beautiful day at Keeneland, looking out over the track there, and then watching one of my exactas go up in smoke as I pass into the big casino in the sky. But when it is nice there, and it has been, I mean, it's pure racing nirvana. Now, how excited are you about the card today? We have the 5 2-year-old races going today, and then 9 big ones tomorrow in various categories. But naturally, I'm hoping my bankroll survives the day, so we need some help here. And it all begins with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint, 5.5 on the turf. And always great. You're seeing big, huge fields. I don't know that they're huge today, but large enough to be very, very attractive to gamblers. And we always talk about this. The beauty of the Breeders' Cup is you might get a horse that's undefeated, some European champion with great breeding that they paid $3 million for, and he's 20-1 with like Frankie Dettori on him. What's your just general approach to what's happening today? How are you approaching a card? Are you going in both fists with a pick 5?
Yes, I am. because
good.
Sometimes you never know what happens, and in the past, I've ended up going conservatively on the first day and thinking, because you just never know, and you want to see where you're at, and then then you try to use that for the next day. And as it turns out, I've done great on the first day and not so great on the second day. So this time I'm going to embrace the unknown, and I'm putting a pick 5 together. I'm going to put a pick 5 together for the first 5 races of the day, which are non-Breeders' Cup races as well, and that'll be on the Players Show. But we get started with the Juvenile Turf Sprint, as you said, and what's interesting is this is where I think people, they listen to all the stories and they look at the big name horses, and they get so caught up in it that they forget about some of the other horses for the same people that are really good, but they end up going off a little bit higher prices than they should. And I'm hoping that becomes the case in this Juvenile Turf Sprint, because Juvenile Turf Sprint is a race that, even though it's turf and even though the Europeans are probably going to do really, really well throughout the Breeders' Cup, this is not the race that they usually do well in.
All right.
They still get that every year. They still get that every year. And the big reason is because we have a much bigger emphasis on 2-year-old racing. Our horses develop earlier. We kind of have an opportunity to sort them out. But there's also that emphasis on speed when you're talking 5.5 furlongs, which I think gives the advantage to the U.S. horses, especially around a turn, whereas the European horses are all running down straight. So I think Wesley Ward is going to, I believe he's going to have a good Breeders' Cup across the board because he stables his horses at Keeneland. Listen, between you and me, well, you'll never hear me say it on air, but he trains for the guy that helps run the racetrack right now. So that gives you
only George Steinbrenner. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. So this is his backyard. His horses are stabled here almost all year round, and he takes advantage of it, and it's smart. So I think he's going to have a big weekend. I think his filly that's in this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, which is the first of the Breeders' Cup races today, Love Reigns, has got a really big shot. She won at Saratoga. She's coming off the layoff, but I think that's by design. Gets Irad Ortiz, and that's going to be hopefully the way that we start things in a pretty good fashion. But I like of the Euro horses in there. I do like the 6 Persian Force. But I still think this race is going to be won by a North American horse or a U.S. horse. So I'm using Love Reigns and Persian Force in that race, and hopefully that gets us going. If you wanted to spend a little bit more money and throw some more horses to keep your first pick 5 going, that's involving the Breeders' Cup horses, then I'm also using Private Creed for Steve Asmussen. And the 7, Oxymore, is real interesting for Chad Brown, coming out of a longer race and shortening up. Chad's one that he's another one. Look for the unexpected with Chad's horses.
Okay.
Everybody focuses on the longer turf races and the filly and mare turf and that stuff. And he could do well in those. He certainly has good horses, but I think he's got some horses in the other races like this one that definitely have a shot and will be bigger prices.
The natural thinking would be short race, that you want front runner and speed involved. But I can hear my friend Big Al, who's always next to me during the handicapping sessions for these races, just prior to them going off. And so often you see closers when these short turf sprints. Is that a philosophy that we should look to today?
Well, what I want is somebody who's tactical. They don't have to be on the lead, but they're going to be in that first flight of horses. And that's Love Reigns is not going to be too far off the pace, but I don't know that she has to be on the lead. And that's why I kind of like her. And that's why I actually give Persian Force a little bit of a shot. But, and the same for Chad's horse, because I think all those horses, Oxymore is coming out of a mile race at Monmouth. So he's probably not going to be right on the lead, but I don't think he will be too far off of the pace. But it just depends, because you can find some horse that runs them off their feet and they do all right. But in this case, to me, there's a ton of speed. So I think there's enough speed that we can look for a horse that can sit that stalking trip.
The lovely Caton Bredar, of course, FanDuel TV with us, formerly TVG, and all over the place, and the Queen of Kentucky as well, and going to be on TV. Right from the beginning here, on the outset of the opening of the card. I'll
kick off the day, and then I'll be kind of rotating with the rest of we come from far and near, but it's really a fun team to work with. In the Players Show, we have the set, but then we have roving reporters, and then the FanDuel programming is going on at the same time. So, excuse me, they'll keep us busy all day long for a couple days.
Okay, all right. Let me skip around a little bit here because naturally everybody's trying to find a single in this pick 5 sequence. The normal strategy would be to take more than one horse in each race because you're hoping that this big favorite goes down. But the lone odds-on favorite that's being presented to us morning line standpoint is Cave Rock, and that is going in the Breeders' Cup, the Juvenile. So we have the Colts out there. Cave Rock, of course, a Baffert monster. And is that a horse that appears to be as unbeatable as the morning line odds would indicate?
Yeah, except the caveat is that anything can happen with 2-year-olds, especially horses shipping from California for the first time. A lot of variables. So if you want a little insurance, Baffert's got 2 horses in that race.
Oh, there you go.
Nice race, by the way. But I'm probably singling Cave Rock, but I do think that his other horse is a pretty nice horse, and I think that could be a good way to go to include National Treasure with Johnny V on the outside, adding blinkers. It's that other horse angle. He was beaten 5 lengths by Cave Rock last time. For me, Cave Rock is the standout, and I'm probably going to single him. But if you want to be a contrarian, then throw in National Treasure. And I'm gonna give you the race before because that's a horse that there's going to be a lot of hype for Chop Chop in the filly or the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies, and I like her a lot. But that race I'm probably going to spread in. But after that, the race that's in between, the 9th race, is the Juvenile fillies Turf, and I love a filly there, even though she drew kind of a tricky post in 13. But it's the horse whose name nobody can say. They call her the X Factor because it starts with the X, but it's pronounced Kidgera. And Kidgera was named for, I think it's a wildlife reserve or a safari location in Botswana. But Kidgera is trained just superbly, both here and over at Churchill before we ship, and I think is going to run huge. So that's going to be a key horse for me too.
Julian Laperoux in the irons. That's the 8th race on the card, and prior to the Cave Rock race, and with the Cave Rock philosophy, I think I have to throw in at least another horse in there. So I'm going to follow your advice and go with the other Baffert horse, which is another great angle. Always take the horse with the longer odds when an uncoupled entry is being presented, especially when it happen to be Baffert horses where you're getting quality. But one of my favorite names for a horse ever was Key to the Mint. And the key to the mint here is to beat that favorite if you're going to catch a very lucrative pick 5 here today. So if you can beat Cave Rock, you're going to be in really good shape. So it might be worth throwing in another pony or two in that race just in case, although that will expand the horizons and the cost of the ticket by an immense amount. So you have to have some guts here when you're playing. All right, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, you mentioned Chop Chop. What do you think about Chocolate Gelato, who is a Pletcher horse and is also getting consideration in terms of the morning line price?
It looks amazing. I mean, she's schooled in the paddock. She's just trained great. She's super. I think that the horses that were in New York in that category, which is where she was, were not as good as the horses in some of the other locations. However, if you don't buy into that, then that's probably your horse. And when you go to place your ticket, at least through the first 5 races, you've seen that speed is really good, then she doesn't have to be on the lead, but she's a quick filly. So she's one of those horses that's first tier horses with Irad Ortiz. I definitely wouldn't dissuade anybody from going with Chocolate Gelato. She's probably the fastest horse in the race, but she will have some company, I think. Just to her inside, Grand Love has a little bit of speed. Atomically, Todd's that other filly has a little bit of speed, but obviously they're not going to put or hope that they're not going to have both of them running against each other. But then you go toward the inside of the track, and I mean, Wonder Wheel in the 5-hole has a little speed. You're My Girl has speed, and Vegas Magic could show some speed coming out of sprint races. So I think that the Juvenile Fillies is going to be a very quickly run race. And I was looking for somebody who I thought could come from off the pace. And that's in part why I landed on Chop Chop. But if you see that the track is favoring horses that have speed, then Chocolate Gelato is definitely very, very live. That race I struggled with outside of, I just like the way Chop Chop has that style and is coming into the race and just looks super. A horse that is 8-1 on the morning line, that has impressed me only because she's been able to overcome adversity and put together 3 straight wins, and that's And Tell Me No Lies. She's not necessarily as fast as some of the other horses, but that's the type of horse that you might get a good price on because people kind of look at the time figures and the speed figures and the sheets, and she doesn't look quite fast enough, and yet she finds a way to win. So, and she's always big odds.
And Jacinto Vasquez comes out of retirement to ride that horse, so that's great. A 70-year-old Jacinto going to be in the irons here.
Yeah.
All right, just a quick, perusal of the final race here. This is the one that we haven't discussed, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Any strong opinion on that race, Caton Bredar?
Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, not a strong opinion. Going to spread in there, but probably by default going to go with the 1 Victoria Road. I'm torn between the 2 Euros, the 1 Victoria Road and the 4 Silver Knot. Silver Knot's going to be the shorter price for Charlie Appleby. So I'm going to go to the 1 Victoria Road, who's looking for 4th consecutive win. He's coming in against lesser horses that he's been running against, but he's been doing it the right way. So that's part of Aiden's army. And you're going to hear a lot about the Europeans aren't as strong as they've been in years past and everything. Just don't believe it. Everybody talks that way every year. It seems like to me, unless there's some superstar standout that everybody's been watching. But these guys know what they're doing. I mean, Aiden O'Brien, Charlie Appleby, John Gosden, they are very, very select in the horses that they bring over. They know the conditions. They've done this before, and they're going to win a race or two, if not more.
All right, I'm hoping Frankie Dettori wins one so I can see the leap there in the winner's circle. What kind of circus are we looking at? Because I've been at Keeneland on a regular day, and it's always crowded because of the uniqueness and the short brevity, terms of the meet. But what's it look like on a Breeders' Cup day? Because this will be the third time they've hosted it.
Well, so last time we hosted it during COVID, so we didn't really have fans, and it was very strange and eerie. But the first time they hosted it, it was absolutely wonderful because even though it's a good crowd, they have high ticket prices and they limit the number. They kind of cap it at a smaller number than what they would for all the college kids on Bluegrass Day and every other time that they run Keeneland. So as a result, it's like a more controlled crowd and you can get around. And so there is a great lively atmosphere and people are really excited. But at the same time, it's not quite the beer brawl that you might see on another day.
Yeah.
You can get around, and you actually can use the bathroom once in a while and get through the beer lines pretty easily. But yeah, it's so pretty because the leaves are turning, and the weather is supposed to be great today and tomorrow. They might have a little bit of rain, but it's just it's ideal. It's exactly my kind of crowd.
Oh, going to be great. All right, one final thing, just a quick note here, because we've been talking about this. Have you and your husband, Doug Bredar, who of course, has been a jockey agent representing Florent Giroux, I guess this is going to be the finishing touch on that relationship, and hopefully, I would imagine he's going to prosper if he stays in that game with somebody else. But have you ever argued over potential winnings on the Powerball? And in terms of the division of assets before the winning ticket was even drawn or the numbers were drawn. So I had a big fight with my wife about this the other day, and about 10 tickets. Of course, we didn't win. We had like one number on the whole thing. And but we were in a big fight about how we were going to divide up the money among our friends.
As every good couple knows, and I put you guys in this group, and Doug and I have been married 30 plus years. We're
Wow.
going on 33. We fight about everything. So we fight about the Powerball, the earnings. He's playing in the BCBC today. He won his way in by winning a tournament or qualifying in a tournament at Keeneland. So he'll be playing with their $10,000 bankroll that they buy for him, and gets to keep the winnings. And we're already arguing about what we're going to do with that. So but I do know that he has really been studying hard and has a good line on it. And yes, I do get some advice from him along the way too. But he did some advice from me, so it works. It works really well. And by the way, we are going to, because of the change, we are going to be heading to Florida in December. So
Nice.
we will be able to do this in person. We don't have to worry about the
Great.
technology. So
There you go.
Believe it or not.
I will be there.
Oh, beautiful. Believe it or not, I think Mayo and I are going to be with Lubie out there every Friday
Yes.
with that Lunchbox show, talking about some of the events there. So
Big ad,
going to be great now. I mean, at least we know we have somebody that knows something about what they're talking about. They're going to be on the show. So that'll be great, Kate. We'll look forward to that. Thanks. I know you're busy. I really appreciate it. I couldn't appreciate it anymore. I know our fans always look forward to your appearances here on the show, and appreciate it because it's a very difficult thing to decipher. So narrowing this down somewhat for us is definitely something that will be useful for all of our listeners. And thanks so much for coming on the show today. It's always a lot of fun.
Deb, it's really a lot of fun. And the reason I also focused on today is because, as everybody has asked, tomorrow, the star of the show is Flightline, and I'm not picking against him. So I think your opportunity to make money is today versus tomorrow. There are some short price favorites, I think, that are going to be very hard to get around. But it is going to be a real treat to see all these horses. I think this is one of the more exciting Breeders' Cups on both days for some standout horses. So everybody hopefully has a safe trip and enjoys it, and hopefully we make some money too.
Nice.
All right, well, enjoy the day, man. Good luck to Doug in the handicapping contest. I know that's big, and a lot of shooters here from Florida have gone up there to participate in that. Always good when you're playing with house money, and hopefully we'll be playing with house money that we made from the Caton Bredar selections tomorrow as we dive into the 9-race card that they'll have at Keeneland that includes, it's a bigger card, but includes the 9 races of the Breeders' Cup. Thanks so much for being with us, Caton. It's always great to have you on a Degenerate Friday. It's an honor.
Thank you, and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, sounds good. Caton Bredar. That could make that whole Lunchbox situation kind of interesting with Caton on the scene there at Gulfstream Park. If indeed that comes around, we're hoping that we're coming to you every Friday there from Gulfstream Park. All right, we're coming right back. The Greek going to join us here on the program. Hialeah Park is always a great place to go. You talk about an ideal situation for the Breeders' Cup. Going to be crowded there in Keeneland. Have a lot of friends that are going to be on the scene there, including Joey Esposito. I think Jersey Kyle schlepped up there with Evan, and other people are involved. My friend Dylan is there with Tommy, a couple of guys that I've done some things with in the past that really know how to roll on the high roller circuit. So they'll be involved in the handicapping tournament. I think 2 entries. Wow. Dylan carved up, 20,000? So you can have 2 tickets going in that handicapping contest. The payoff is enormous. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's a degenerate stream. Sounds like it's going to be an ideal day. And if you're punching away Hialeah Park, if you want to get the sense of what it's like to be at Keeneland on a beautiful day, just look outside the grounds there at Hialeah Park, and then you can punch away on all the Breeders' Cup races. And it will almost seem as if you are there. Just unbelievable. Great room there. The Champion Simulcasting Room is the best simulcasting room I've been in anywhere in the country. And, that takes into account a lot, including Las Vegas and Atlantic City and all these other tracks that I've been to. Really love the way they set up the Champion Simulcasting Room. Great food and drink all over the place. The Brass Rail Bar, you're not going to get clobbered. Mayo could go in there and not even worry about paying $5 for a seltzer. For that, he's drinking a strong top shelf martini. What are you talking about? And the food there is absolutely the best that you'll find in any one of these type of settings, and all at very reasonable prices. And then you have the casino rolling there with the Royal Reels and all the payouts. The jackpots that are being paid out there in the casino are substantial. And the poker room is as well run a poker room as you'll find anywhere on the planet as well. It's all happening at beautiful Hialeah Park. I would call down there and make a reservation, especially if you want one of those little private booths that they have there for the handicapping. And the Champion Simulcasting Room will be the hottest place on the planet outside of Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup races, both today and then with the big card tomorrow. All right, we're going to pick up the Greek right out of the chute here because he's ready to roll. And this is great, too, because the Greek... look, I know this is show business, and there might be a little bit of exaggeration, and embellishment in telling stories. But, he sounded like he was face down in a gutter, in his romantic life for the last, what, how many years now, Lubie? 3?
Been like a year, but he didn't look
Year
like
or
that when I
so?
saw him Tuesday out at
Yeah.
Louis Bossy. I'll tell you that. I was very
Right.
impressed by his lunch, I guess, date or partner, whatever you want to call it. I can't.
You were walking out of there. Was it just one woman? I mean, I heard it
just
was
one.
like.
He played it mild. It was a Tuesday afternoon, so he wasn't going big. He was just, going nice and calm, having a nice lunch, at Louis Bossy. Like, I don't know who the hell goes to Louis Bossy for lunch, but of course the Greek,
The Greek, yeah. No, were you paying just for the lunch, Greek, or were you also paying for her company? What's the story on this woman, this mystery woman you were with? How are you, Greek?
I'm good. What I would appreciate it going forward is not to bring up my divorce anymore.
Because you never mentioned it in this conversation you had over lunch with this lovely, voluptuous. And Lubie was very impressed, man. His eyes got kaleidoscopic when he started talking about, you should have seen the babe the Greek was with.
She was a lovely lady.
I was like, what Greek? What are you talking about? Because I had already left the place.
Yeah,
Nice
Lubie
job
was
there,
running
kid.
by, and then I had penny pasta, and he took a fork. He goes, penny pasta? Can I have some? He took a little, yeah.
Anything for money, right?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that was Mike Lubie.
Yeah. So what's the story there, man? Was this a first-time starter, maiden? What are we talking about here?
No. This is a girl I'm friendly with for a while. So very nice
Friendly
girl.
how? I mean, we got to go Goodfellas here. Friendly how? Like a clown? What?
Friendly. I mean, yeah, we're friendly. That's it. I mean, me, I don't think we're friendly.
Greek's a gentleman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greek, you weren't sitting on the same side of the table as this woman. Was that the arrangement, Lubie?
No.
Because that always freaks me out.
Lubie,
He seemed like a casual.
I
lunch,
thought
I'm
when
just
I
saying.
first saw when I saw Lubie running by, I thought he ran out on tap.
Thought he was stealing something, right?
He was sweating, and I saw the sign Louis Bossy like blinking. I said, "Oh God, I hope he didn't run out of tap. I got you, buddy." The Greek, what are you doing here? I said, "I'm having lunch." And, he said, it was great to see him. It's one of those places you never think you bump into somebody.
Especially
You don't
me.
like Lubie.
You're not expecting to see me at Louis
Very
Bossy.
popular. And I have to say, I've been, I'm not a fan of the margarita pizza in general. And I was not disappointed in the pizzas that I had in Italy. I didn't have that many of them, but the ones I had, I thought, kind of pedestrian for a guy that likes the greasy, cheesy, the cheese dripping off the chin, New York style pizza. But they replicated this pizza from Italy about as well as anybody. And I just finished off like the last bite this morning from our session there. What was that on Tuesday? And so, I mean, great stuff there. No, it's a good place, Louis Bossy's, man. I could see why you would frequent it.
You're eating pizza that you got on Tuesday on Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I would
That's
be
it. I'm the king of leftovers, my friend.
I guess
I love leftovers. Well, and if it wasn't for these free lunches, I'd be starving to death. But and we got another one on tap today.
That's a pet peeve of me. If somebody asks like for something to go, that bothers.
Well, I'm the king. Then you must
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a Kyrie thing, but you're certainly not Jewish then.
Kyrie.
Oh my God!
I mean, what's funny about that, Greek? I don't know what your thoughts are, but I mean, it always amazes me because when that whole John Rocker thing broke, it's like, okay, well, we know the guy is not exactly, an intellectual, but I mean, what do we care about what I understand people are offended by certain things, but this is a hillbilly relief pitcher for the Braves.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck what he thinks, right? I mean, if the guy is espousing all kinds of craziness, just realize what is he? It's not like he's a professor at Harvard or something.
No, but nobody's got nothing to do. Everybody's life sucks, so they hear something, they run with it. I mean, that's the bottom line. If they just paid attention to their own stuff, they'd be better off.
Yeah.
I being Jewish, became somewhat anti-Semitic just last night because my friend, as I've told you before, keeps getting the lines that he bets me with out of the Jewish Journal, which is like a monthly publication. So I don't know. He had this game at 9 and a hook last night. 9 and a hook he offers me with the Texans. It's like their line's 14. He goes,
like 5.
No, it's 9.5. Look it up. Vegas Insider. So I never look at Vegas Insider. I Google it. I'm on the beach there. And I see, I guess the line opened at 9.5 in August when the schedule first came out.
All right, so you want some picks or what?
Yes. What do you got?
Yeah. What do you got for us, Greek?
First of all, Lubie's team, Florida State, I think they spanked the Canes. I know it's down here, but I would lay to 7 with them. Miami's got so many problems. They just do. So I think Florida State comes down here, wins and covers. The biggest game of the week, Georgia, Tennessee. It's such a weird line. How is Georgia giving them 8? And I don't know. I mean, I just think it's too much. And I've watched Georgia the last couple of weeks. I got to take the point. I got to take Tennessee in the 8. You know, they might not win, but I'll definitely take. I'll take Tennessee. I'll take Florida State. And then Sunday, you know, we always want to give you one NFL game. The Dolphins. I mean, I think they can go up to Chicago, and you know they got their new linebacker Chubb, and I think they can win by 5. And I think they could do what they have to do.
Chicago completely unimpressive, of course, until they got on what was it, the Monday night game?
Yeah.
And no, it was a Monday night. It was one of the night games or something. There was a featured game because I ended up watching it, and they didn't look half bad in that ball game.
No, but Belichick had the Bears.
Hey, by the way, Giselle on the market. Any interest, Greek? I mean, with your wherewithal, I mean, you're in the category with Tom Brady.
Absolutely not.
You said no. He said hell no.
If Tom can't keep her happy, I sure can.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she was too skinny.
No. I mean, how do you? I love people who say, "Oh, she's not my type." My buddy said that to me last night at dinner. I listened to the ketchup bottle at him. I'm like, she's not your type. Like, what do you want, bro? Your type is artsy. I love people. Oh, she's not my type. Really? She's not your type? She calls you 3 in the morning. She has to fly out of Boynton Beach Boulevard. You're there.
Yeah.
I love people. Our society is so whacked that everybody has an opinion about everything. And everything. And, you know, I mean, for Brady, you know what? He's having a tough year. But, I mean, honestly, he has a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
You know, that's just not sexy to write about. They want to talk about the divorce, but everybody's hurt. You know, so when everybody's hurt, you know, it makes a big difference.
No, I believe she got to him. I know you and I argued over this before. But,
what do you think?
I think not only did she get to him, but I do believe, and we're researching this through some of our Vegas sources, including Brandon Lang, who had just arrived in Vegas, so we didn't have time to scope this out, that Giselle is following Floyd Money Mayweather to the windows and sending it in against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sending it in, Greek. Sending it in.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
She's not sending it in with Tom anymore, but she's sending it in with Money Mayweather on the, you know, whatever the Bucks are playing. She's got the other side.
They live lives you don't even know exist. I mean, that's all. Everybody, you know, every normal guy or woman has an opinion. Oh, I think this. You don't know what their life's like and what they do and what goes on. I mean, you know, she's like, I raised the kids by myself. You probably had 17 nannies.
Yeah, exactly. I raised the kids.
I mean, come on.
Yes. She has her own school.
You working at Burger, you know, you weren't working at Burger King in a swing shift and picking the kids up.
Exactly.
It just cracks me up. And this is such a hot topic. The other night I was out with this bunch of people. This woman like came after me. I said, calm down.
Yeah, they're like talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, my father taught me a lot. Bless the soul. When he always said, "There's only one person you can take an accountability for every day and be honest," is you.
Yeah.
Everybody else is a guest.
Yep.
You know, so who knows?
I don't know. I have to take accountability for some of Lubie's activities over the years, including, as you said, what was at one time some disgusting eating habits.
Yeah, run out of Louis. When I saw him, you would have died. Like I was sitting there, all of a sudden he ran by.
No, I can picture it. Yeah.
No, it's run. I was running.
I was there. If I had known you were there, I would have been peering at this woman with binoculars through the window.
He was so funny. It was like he was sweating. There was a bag. I was like, "What the hell is that bag? Poker chips?
We did a broadcast. What do you want?"
I'm not overly obsessive with breasts, but he described hers as looking like the very top of the Himalayas, man. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
She was a lovely lady. That's all I said.
And they're rare. They're real.
He said she was
rare in both.
Yeah. No, he said that her breasts had to be measured in circumference. That was his exact words. So congratulations on that.
No,
I mean, a Greek sighting.
No, she's got a big rack. She definitely does. It's real. I said it to a guy the other night in a restaurant we were out. Some guy's like staring at her. I go, "Dude, they're real, huh?" He just looked at me and laughed.
Dude, they're real.
And you would know that how, Greek? I thought you were just friends.
Exactly.
All right. I know you're busy, man. What do you have going today, Greek? Radio shows, TV, what? Podcasting? What's
We're
happening?
doing a live show at Strike Cigar Lounge in
Nice.
Boca, downtown Boca, right by your Funky Biscuit.
Okay.
And then after that, I got another show at Atlantis Motor Group. So,
Nice.
Same stuff. But I'm all right.
Man,
But
Sound good, man.
Miss you guys.
we miss you too. Great.
Lubie
Yeah,
was
I was-
overwhelmingly impressed. I mean, he said he ran into the Greek, and then when he started describing this woman,
Very attractive.
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, you would have thought that this was the ultimate starlet that you were hanging out with. And
Well, thank
I was
God
proud of you, Greek.
I
I was proud of you.
thank God he didn't trip over the chain. I had her tied to a table. He took a meatball. The girl goes, "That's weird. He just took a meatball."
Yeah,
Usually just grabs it, right? Not even a
yeah,
fork.
good.
All right, Greek, we love you, man. Thanks. So
a
you
good
like Florida State, and you're going with Tennessee, and then the Dolphins. So there was a local flavor to a couple of those picks.
Yes.
Many people, I don't know how you would feel comfortable. I mean, if you weren't going to lay the 7, I thought it was 7 and a hook there. Did that
7 and a
line
hook.
drop? 7 and a hook is a big difference, though, is it not?
You can buy down points, buy up. A hook, I get. It was, again, the Francesco problem is like 5. Like, that's
No, that's Segreto-esque, that kind of difference.
I was gonna say, Segreto was like, wow.
Listen, Tony, no wonder you won, man. I mean, you were getting 6 more points than anybody else on that game, and everybody else is ripping up tickets and cursing their bookie out. That was on the same side as you. That's great, man. I mean, shopping for the right price is one thing, but I mean, you're usually going to find like maybe a half-point differential. As you look around, and that game last night was either 13.5 or 14, depending on where you were, and that's a huge difference if you think about it, right? Because just doing the normal extrapolations on scoreboard mathematics, 2 touchdowns, Philadelphia. Did they not appear to be 2 touchdowns better than the Houston Texans? Sure.
Yeah, they've been killing everyone.
But, I mean, the stats are overwhelmingly in favor of taking any home dog that's double digits in the NFL. There you go. There's my Mark Lawrence lesson for the day. But, no, it was true. Brandon Lang pointed it out. I forget the number exactly that he cited, but, he had like a ridiculous percentage, a winning percentage for double-digit home dogs in the National Football League. And that's one of those things where, you forget about the 2 teams and just put a ring around, taking the points in that situation. And it worked last night to the tune of a Texans victory because they went down 29-17. I was afraid to look at that because it looked like Philadelphia was taking over the game. The Texans quarterback, what's this kid's name again?
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills, yeah. I mean, he threw like the dumbest interception I've ever
That
seen.
interception sucked. They actually had momentum. They had just stopped the Eagles. And for no reason.
He steps out of the pocket and throws a half-ass pass in the middle of the field. The guy that he was throwing a pass to, which he just kind of lobbed one, was already well past the point where that ball was going to land. And unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game against the Dolphins, the defender, I think a linebacker in this case, managed to catch the ball as it was going to the ground. Yeah, gets up and runs 50 yards, and you're thinking you're dead meat. Hurts takes it in for the score right away, and the route supposedly was on. So Texans held up pretty well there to cover that point spread. See, that should go as a win for the Texans.
Yes.
Game should be judged in the standings against the point spread. I believe that. This era will come. You're going to hear Roger Goodell make this announcement sometime. What, are we 3 years away from that? 4? Where the actual results don't count, that it's only the spread. It'll be the FanDuel NFL. You just put the name before the National Football League. All right, always brilliant. Coming up, the professor. He's got the big board for us. He's got some college football plays. Very, as my buddy Al Bernstein would say, intriguing weekend of possibilities on the college football betting board and wagering board. So we'll get the insight from the professor and also the big board. And, okay. You guys had a big night last night at Landlubbers? Is that what you're saying?
I was back by 8 o'clock, but he had a nice play going with Coastal Carolina. The exact game.
That was a good game for the Coastal Carolina backers. Wow.
Yes. Brandon Lang also talked about that as well. So Brandon Lang had a good night last night, and the professor was very big on Coastal Carolina. And sometimes when that happens,
celebration
involved. So.
Well, Lubie, note to me is he may not be coherent yet, which I don't know if that's a requirement for making an appearance on this show, especially on a Degenerate Friday.
I just say coherent, so I just need him available. I haven't heard from him, so we'll see what's going on with the professor.
All right, we'll see what happens there. Mark Lawrence is scheduled to join us as well in the Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo later on. Mike Mayo in the lunchbox. 12 o'clock today, and we'll get there a little before that. But Seaside Subs.
Yes, and
Mayo has found another way to poach a free lunch. And Seaside Subs. Boy, he's picked up on this electronic media gig. Huh? Right? I mean, at least with the Sun Sentinel, he was on their dime on an expense account when he was going to these fancy places. Now he's just telling the owner, okay, we need this, we need 2 of those, we need a pizza. And the guy looks at him and says, who's going to eat all that? Are more people coming to join you? And we go, no, just the 3 of us. Can you bring some to-go boxes? See, the Greek could never do this show with us.
Yeah, the Greek would hate it because we do gigs and take to-go boxes.
Well, you don't want it to go to waste. Right?
I'm not throwing away food. Well, the Greek's saying you should eat it there, and I get that.
But you can't eat it all there, right? I mean, we're on the show. You can only eat so much while you're on the show.
Can't eat that much. Then we all have things to do, and we're not trying to take up their table forever. Then we'll stay out of their way for their business. So that is what it is. I don't know. Look, I like leftovers. I know my wife's very much like the Greek, where she's.
I love it, man. Yeah,
and I hate wasting food. So
I still have a couple of wings left from last Friday's session at Wicked Cheesesteaks.
Exactly.
They're calling my name in the fridge. Defo. All right, we're coming back with more. The professor, maybe or maybe not, going to join us here on the program. Let's hope he's with us, because we always enjoy his appearances here on the show. Mark Lawrence later on, playbooksports.com, and the Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo, who should be all over this Breeders' Cup thing.
Yes.
Because, see, now, when it appears like something like this is actually hittable without investing a huge amount of money, that's usually when you need to invest a huge amount of money to even have a half a shot. But there are going to be some bombs, I think. I mean, of the 5 races, I don't know that I want to. The horse Cave Rock in the 9th race, Caton Bredar are going to single that horse. And that's where you make the real advantage here, because if you can somehow get by that race without having Cave Rock be the winner, then you're going to open up a treasure chest in terms of a score, no matter what happens in the other 4 races. Because people are going to be spreading money all over the place. These pools are going to be enormous for pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 3s, and things of that nature at Keeneland today. And that starts later on this afternoon. All right, back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show at Degenerate Friday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and hopefully the professor around the corner in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:53.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
You might have been right, Mike Lubie Lubitz, about the professor. A no-show so far on the program. All right, and that's all off of a victory by Coastal Carolina?
I'm not going to say I don't know. I mean, he may just, sometimes the phone doesn't work. Sometimes there's internet issues. I don't know. I just
most likely, if he's not on the show, he's passed out somewhere.
Had a play in Coastal Carolina that he was very intrigued by, and from what I recall, Coastal Carolina did pretty well. So
they won, I believe, by a touchdown in that game. But it was a wildly entertaining game. I watched some of it, and I was involved naturally watching the World Series. I tried to catch a little bit of that Philadelphia Eagles game to see if the Eagles have played. And it seems like all year. How is that possible that they have what appears to be a very soft schedule when they play the other teams in the NFC East twice? They still have a game against Dallas. Have they played the Cowboys yet? Do they have 2 left against Dallas?
I've been saying this, and Sarni's been giving me crap about teams. They haven't played anyone. So
it's the NFL, so it's tough to say that.
I've narrowed it down to have they played anyone who has a winning record? Because we're now into week 8 or game 8 or game 9, whatever the hell it is for some teams.
Okay.
So I looked at every game they played. The 2 teams they played that now have winning records are the Vikings week 1, which the Vikings were supposed to be bad coming into this season, and the Cowboys in the middle of the Cooper Rush stretch.
Yes.
To me, the only teams they played with winning records really weren't those teams that we know now, and everyone else, the Jags, the Giants, like they play, not the Giants, the Jags.
Played a lot of shit teams, no question. Look at this game last night. I mean, the Texans are dreck. They represent zero threat to virtually anybody except who did they beat? The Texans. That has to be a disgrace.
Oh, that's
that team. Did they beat the Jaguars? Is that what happened? That's possible. Because obviously the Eagles and the NFC East are playing that division. But wow, I mean, the Lions.
No, I'm talking about the Eagles to play the Lions.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A lot of that. Like that's what the Eagles have played so far.
I mean, look, it's hard to knock a team that's winning every game. That you can only, as they say, the cliche is, been used, into oblivion there. But nonetheless, you can only play who's on the schedule. I mean, you can't fault them for that. I don't know if they've looked brilliant. Jalen Hurts has impressed me more than I thought he would. I did not think that Jalen Hurts would be a pro quarterback. It was interesting. I mean, he got beaten out by Tua for the job. He ended up transferring, to Oklahoma or something? Where did he end up after that?
Oklahoma.
I mean, you're the Alabama starting quarterback, and you're relieved in a championship game, and the guy is so impressive, in this case it was Tua, that Nick Saban basically tells you you're not going to be starting here again, and bingo, thank goodness, the players have the opportunity in the transfer portal where they don't have to suffer consequences while coaches are changing teams and making zillions of dollars, and, the NCAA is raking in money. I don't know, is the NCAA getting a piece of any of this action now? Because, I mean, you talk about being OOP, out of picture. Where is Mark Emmert and any presence of the NCAA in college football anymore?
Well, college basketball, where they still try and reign, and even there, it's sort of a joke.
No.
They definitely don't do the NIL. And you were right. The Texans' lone victory is against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, look, I don't do any handicapping when I'm just booking this man's action, Francesco's. But I would have gone and subscribed to the theory that, and it's dangerous, right? Because you're looking at an absolutely garbage team. And you're thinking, and the fact they even named Lovie Smith as their head coach, very late in the equation, right before the season, right? All of a sudden, they didn't have a coach, and it's like, okay, Lovie Smith is the coach.
Yes, I don't know.
And now Lovie Smith actually did some good things as a head coach, right? But
and with the Bears, he took them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, they were the 85 Bears. I mean, we were talking about a Bears team that had more than its areas of being suspect. But, and well-respected. What did he go to? Illinois after Ron Turner was there? And it's all right. I guess it ended badly, as these teams sometimes do. But, I mean, it came out of nowhere that he was going to be the head coach of the team. And, you talk about sacrificial lambs. What chance do you really have? I guess if you're going to have a really bad team, it doesn't hurt to have a coach like that is respected by players and is going to be able to kind of hold things together. But is he going to have any real success in terms of wins and losses? In all likelihood, no. They would have been better off naming Brian Flores as their head coach. No, really. I mean, at least this was a guy that had the possibility to ascend as a head coach. But we already know what Lovie Smith's career is all about. And while it does have its moments of distinction, it also is kind of like, Lovie Smith, not exactly.
That's funny how you bring up Flores, because that's literally why a lot of people thought Lovie Smith got the job. Because remember, they were interviewing like Josh McCown, who had he'd been, I guess he's starting to do the coaching thing, but he hasn't coached at all. And he's been like involved with the Texans, but I don't think he's like an assistant. And out of nowhere, they were interviewing Josh McCown, and they were doing a second interview with Josh McCown. And then the Flores thing happened. And then magically, Lovie Smith, who wasn't even interviewed, got the job. So, like, a lot of people were like, that was the Brian Flores hire, was Lovie Smith.
It looked like he was going to head there, too. I mean, it really did, until the lawsuit came out there, and then all of this stuff started firing back and forth, and that was it. Brian Flores is doomed to become an assistant, which I don't know. Does he rise again? If Ime Udoka could get a job right away. And by the way, that story kind of, had a big expansion yesterday with Kyrie Irving getting suspended by the Nets, an indefinite suspension of at least 5 games. What is that? They have no clue what to do with the Brooklyn Nets franchise. And then in the aftermath of all of this turmoil that they've experienced during the offseason, I mean, there was little reason to believe that all of they got rid of James Harden. So you thought, okay, maybe they'll bring about some kind of harmonious bliss because Kevin Durant and Kyrie have this symbiotic relationship where for some reason, at least maybe up until this year, that they wanted to play together. Kyrie was always defending Durant, and Durant was a big defender of Kyrie Irving, as crazy as this person appeared to be. So now Kyrie Irving recommends this movie. What was it again? Hebrews to Negroes or something?
Yes, Hebrews to Negroes. I guess the idea is, and I don't know how to word this, that the black people were the real Hebrews. I don't know what that means. Why can't black people be Jewish? Why can't everyone be? I don't get it. Aren't we all?
You know what's weird is, and I always felt this way, growing up, that blacks and Jewish people had a common affinity for each other.
Under a lot of things.
Similarities, in terms of persecution or whatever historically, and maybe not, quite the same. Obviously, different circumstances, but nonetheless, I always thought, Jews and black people got along very well. I mean, I always felt that way. Of course, I feel that way about everybody, but it's not always, an approach that necessarily is beneficial to take. Because sometimes you're very surprised at the acrimony that exists between people just based on something as simple as the color of your skin or whatever religious group that you appear. I mean, I don't know. I'm Jewish, but am I a religious Jew? No.
No.
Like I said, I haven't been in shul for like 50 years. Is it more than 50? Might be 60. Yeah, close to 60 years. Last time I was in shul. All right, so. Should I be taking offense at all of these different things? I don't know. In general, I don't like the spread of divisive material, as we've been talking about with the politics that are going on. I mean, it's not necessarily to say, hey, look, if it doesn't go my way, then we have to go out and kill somebody. That's crazy. Kyrie Irving is a nutbag. And as I said, I have the John Rocker approach to Kyrie Irving, which is, and we were talking to...
yes, and I'll play that next. When we
Neil deGrasse Tyson, yeah. I mean, and he said it exactly like we would explain it, which is Kyrie Irving, a brilliant basketball player. All right. Is he the sharpest knife in the drawer when it comes to the things he has to say? Maybe he really believes all of this malarkey, that the earth is flat and that, Jews are bad people, whatever. And that they robbed him of whatever in his, entire race. I don't know. If he believes that, he believes it. Well, what are you going to do? Guy's crazy. But why are we taking offense at the ramblings of a crazy man? Just because he plays basketball, he has this big platform, and he does have a massive platform. 4.5 million Twitter followers. Isn't that that's Trumpian, isn't it? In terms of numbers, it's got to be one of the bigger accounts. No,
I mean it's a lot of people, but it's not. I mean, athlete-wise,
it's a lot of people.
It's still a lot of people. I mean, it's an audience. Your word is getting out to people who are listening or not. Look, I've been going at it with people, and I've never grown up with this. Look, I'm from down here, so racism was something that me and my friends sort of made fun of because we didn't really see it.
Really,
again,
in the deep South, I would think it was prevalent everywhere.
South Florida. I didn't grow up in Tallahassee. I grew up in South Florida, where New Yorkers outweigh Southerners. So again, from Boca down to Miami.
Yeah.
It was very Jewish and very African American and very island and very Latin. So I never saw any of this stuff. I didn't see it until I went to Tallahassee. And when I would use certain words that I had gotten used to using growing up.
Yeah, where a guy thinks a hat is a cone-shaped sheet.
Exactly. So it hits me in the face when I see some of this. Look, the first time I saw was something that Mayo talked about when I was 12 at a bowling tournament. We were in Daytona Beach, and they saw my dad's chai, and they're like, "What is that?" And my dad said, "It's chai. It's a Jewish symbol for life." And they're like, and they started poking around, calling the whole family over to my dad and to me, looking for our horns. And we didn't get scared because it is what it is. We were just like, are you serious? So I've always had sort of your opinion of, I don't get mad. I just get confused. It's like, what are your sources on this? Like this documentary?
No, it's not confusing at all. There are assholes out there that have really bad opinions, and unfortunately act on those bad opinions, and go ahead and live their lives as if they were correct. Which it couldn't be any more dead wrong. Which is the case, apparently with Kyrie Irving, and he has enough money to do whatever the hell he wants, and maybe that empowers him to feel like he could say whatever he wants. This veiled apology, well after the fact. I mean, while it was well written by whoever gave it to him, if he wrote it himself, he did a good job. But it seemed like something that might have been handed to him by some damage control PR firm. But where's Adam Silver on this, man? I mean, it's very weak, the position of the NBA. And if you're the Brooklyn Nets organization, and now you're going to bring in Ime Udoka, who apparently was making all kinds of crass commentaries to and about women, even the one that he had an affair with, and the story supposedly goes that she was not alone in having to listen to very harsh language and what would be considered at any work environment sexual harassment from the head coach, the first-year head coach of the Boston Celtics. Now, teams don't fire guys that take their team to the championship round in their first year when, while they have, some very talented personnel on the team. I don't know that they were expected to do poorly, but they were playing subpar basketball by their standards for sure, and the caliber of player that they had on the team with Brown and Tatum and some of the other guys that they have Smart on that team. It's a good, hard-nosed, well-founded, well-rounded basketball team, and yet you would never get rid of this guy unless whatever the problem was had to exceed just the whole idea that, wait a minute, he was banging some guy's wife while engaged himself. And when you started hearing about this stuff, about the extent of whatever it was, the language that he was using with women in the building, you would have to think the last thing you would want to do right now, if you were the Brooklyn Nets, is bring this guy into the environment where you're already battling massive headlines about anti-Semitism originating and coming from the Brooklyn Nets organization through Kyrie Irving. And now you're going to bring in some guy that was involved in almost serial sexual harassment, and at least verbally. And that's what you're bringing to the building here. I mean, what message is that to the women that work for the Brooklyn Nets organization? That we are so desperate to find a coach. We ran out Kenny Atkinson, who everybody respected.
They liked him.
Yeah. I know he was considered one of the Spoelstra type coaches that
Yep.
had this air of intelligence to him that he was able to apply to the game of basketball, that
Or with less.
and a relatability with players. But apparently, I don't know, was it Durant or Kyrie that didn't care for Atkinson?
Both of them. That's the funny thing about all this stuff is Sean Marks now is being called like a loser, a moron. Ian Eagle, who we have yet to meet one person that doesn't respect Ian Eagle's opinion, because he's knowledgeable, knows the stuff. He's willing to talk, but he doesn't force his stuff on people. Whenever I bring up that a lot of people get criticized, no matter who they are. Ian Eagle's the one person they've never had criticized. He was a huge Sean Marks fan, and everyone around the NBA was, until these people came in, which probably wasn't Sean Marks' idea, to be honest with you. And now Sean Marks looks like a moron. He looks like an idiot. They want him out. And it's like, I don't think he forgot how to be a GM.
Yeah. Never let the inmates run the asylum. It is a very sound philosophy in most business ventures, and especially in sports. So the inmates are running the asylum there. Then they were happy to have Steve Nash. Kyrie Irving immediately comes out with the statement, "We don't have a coach," which has to be, if you're Steve Nash, obviously very accomplished, two-time MVP. I mean, a brilliant player. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't my favorite ball player because he had that cochise move that I don't like, where the guy's dribbling around, he just like circles around under the basket, goes all the way underneath, comes out on the other side, and then is still dribbling in a circle, and finally like distributes the ball in a corner somewhere. But a brilliant passer, and if you appreciate passing in the game of basketball, which is an underappreciated art, it's kind of like the body punch in boxing, and having a really pressing body attack, and you don't see it as much because guys don't concentrate on this. But the brilliance of the passing of a John Stockton or a Steve Nash cannot go unappreciated. So, and you're thinking this type of heady ball player would make a really good coach. A guy that had those sort of instincts for the game where, it was just inherent that he was going to make a great play that nobody else could see. like the fabled chess master that comes up with the Queen's Indian defense. And you're like, whoa, man, where'd you come up with that? Unbelievable. You would think that kind of player would make a good coach. Now, sometimes, and he wasn't, even though he was a two-time MVP, he wasn't one of those guys, like Bird or Magic, that you thought, well, geez, he's not going to be able to tolerate sloppy play by some of his rookies or whatever. He's going to have no patience for ineptitude because he was so great himself. You would figure that he would be able to understand that as well. No,
he was one of those guys. What was it, Santa Clara? And he was like Canadian, and he had to work hard. And he had been in the league a long time. And even when he was with the Mavs and he started to play well with Dirk, he wasn't seen as this great. He was traded, or let go to the Suns, and later in his career is when he got great. So he's the kind of guy that maybe not was a journeyman all the way, because I think it was a first-round pick, but he had to fight hard to get where he got. So he could see why guys could struggle. And the big question was, do you want your first gig to be this? Like, that was the question.
Well, I mean, so you walk into a job where the players essentially, your two-star players are saying, we're not going to be listening to this guy. No matter what he does. And, they didn't. And then they had a lot of different problems here in Steve Nash's first year. So it's understandable what happened. And yet, they ended up winning a lot of games in spite of all of that. And just missed an opportunity to move on to the second round of the playoffs. So, and he comes back this year and all this turmoil in the offseason. They got rid of James Harden during the regular season last year. Kyrie Irving, I mean, was by his own volition decided to just say, hey, listen, I don't care that this is a mandate of the league, even that I get this vaccination. I'm not going to let anybody tell me what to do with my body. No, all right, I'm not going to argue with that because it's like Roe versus Wade, only with medicine. You don't want to do it? Don't do it. I know people that have family members that, they were anti-vaccine, and guess what? Some of those family members are no longer with us, and that's as serious as it gets, is it not? We don't know that they would have been spared had they had the vaccine. I'm talking about, a family I'm thinking of, both the father and the mother passed away from COVID. And these are people that are in their 50s or whatever, but so their parents were 75, 80 years old. They're gone, though.
It sucks.
And no vaccine. Would it have helped? Yeah, who knows? But you'd have to think that you were in there with a better shot. But that was your own choice. You can't force somebody to do something that might be good for them, right?
You can.
You can't force yourself to go on that diet. You can't force yourself to take, some time to do some exercise every day, and stop drinking, whatever it is, whatever habit that's killing you. You can't force somebody to change their mind on that. That's fine. But then all of this nonsense that this guy is spewing out, you would think at some point the Brooklyn Nets are saying, that's it, right? Enough. We don't care. Let's lose every game. I'd rather lose every game with dignity than win with you.
But that's the thing. Like, we did that with Terrell Owens. Like, don't players playing abilities on the field or field of play at some point, it's a sliding scale. If you're playing,
the nonsense outweighs the benefit.
But when you're exactly, and aren't we there with Irving? Aren't they losing every game the Nets? Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're not good with him, like, why not just, maybe it'll quiet down. Maybe you'll be better by loss. Like, the Mariners got better that year without A-Rod, like, it happens.
You're going to be rebuilding soon anyway.
Yeah.
So may as well start now. I mean, I know that's a tough thing to sell to your fans. They still have Durant, but on what level? I mean, who knows? He's been relatively silent during all of this. But who's been frighteningly silent, and I think wrongfully so, is Adam Silver, who should have taken some, no pun intended, stern action right away with this thing and gotten out ahead of it. And it just makes the league look really bad, really weak, and really fraudulent when it comes to, much like the NFL, making statements about anything else. When you're willing to tolerate this sort of thing. Now, I don't know what control they have over that. I mean, the guy didn't commit any crimes. He just said something that was very offensive to people. But in your business model, you would have to think that this is a private enterprise here, the NBA.
Yeah, you're allowed
and they're allowed to create certain conditions that, guess what? You can go ahead and do whatever you want there, Kyrie Irving, but you may not be able to play in our league and work for our company if that's what you're going to do, and use this public platform that you have to just spew what would be, just some vicious hatred and vitriol and offend many people, including, you would have to imagine, the commissioner himself, Adam Silver. Did he not have a bar mitzvah at some point in time? He's unaware
He's
that
Jewish.
these
Yes.
remarks were hurtful. Yeah.
He's Jewish. I mean, it's fine. You don't have to be Jewish to be sensitive. Like, I'm white, and my whole life I've tried to look out for the causes. Looking.
No, you've been a huge advocate of,
Make fun of me, but it's the truth. Like,
equality.
I don't think you should have to be that group. But yes, if you are part of that group, that should make you even act more, not less.
Yeah. But I mean, and to bring in Udoka, right? I mean, that's just crazy, right? Guy suspended by the Celtics for a year because they want to get rid of this guy, and they couldn't figure out exactly how to handle it, and so they turned the reins of their team over to a 34-year-old guy who'd never coached before him. I know Udoka was a first-time starter as a head coach last year, but the guy had been under Popovich for 12 years, sitting there on the bench, absorbing from the master himself, Greg Popovich, who you would have to respect, whether you liked his attitude towards reporters or not, and the press. You would have to respect what he did as a head coach. I mean, he was always successful, no matter what the configuration of the team was, and obviously he had the insight to put together, and with a little bit of luck, one of the dynamite franchises. I mean, they were an exceedingly good franchise for a long time, the San Antonio Spurs. And then they went through various changes, and they were still always very good. So a guy that tutored under Popovich, and Popovich wasn't going to have some assistant on his staff that was dead weight. You would also think that he would be the first guy to say, hey, listen, you're not doing much. We're going to go in another direction, right? Fable thing you get in the radio business. By the way, we're going in another direction.
Exactly
Yeah, down the toilet is where you're going.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right, we're going to come back with Mark Lawrence, but I mean, a situation that's just bizarrely out of control there, and what a disgrace. The Brooklyn Nets clearly have no idea how to handle any of this stuff, whether it's star players, putting a coach in place, keeping their organization, in a place where you think there's a springboard for success. And, to sell out like this the way they have with Kyrie Irving and then bringing back. Look, I have nothing against Ime Udoka. I don't know what happened. Apparently, a lot of people don't with the Boston Celtics. I just think it had to be pretty egregious and outrageous for them to make the move that they did in light of his success last year. Crazy. All right, Mark Lawrence coming up here in just a few minutes. Playbooksports.com. We'll get some selections on the colleges and the pros. I would imagine all dogs. Aroo! Aroo!
Of course.
We're going to be barking here with Mark Lawrence. I was just perusing the coffee cup here, and I'm unable to punch it up while I'm doing this here on our system that we broadcast on. But very clever stuff in there, and I think he even mentioned the Powerball.
Nice.
So I don't know what his situation is relationship-wise, but I can't see Mark Lawrence.
Married. I think he's been married. You think he's referenced that he's married for like years and years and years, from what I recall.
Happily married degenerate gambler. Wow.
Yeah, you said that to him, and he brought up Valentine's, and then that was when he brought up, I've been married a long time,
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, you're the aberration.
Oh, well, we're typically just horrific at affairs of the heart, right? Like I sense already, some kind of, I don't know. It's not animosity, but the Mustang is particularly upset since she picked up this job on the weekends. She's been working Friday and Saturday the last few weekends, and I get to roll over to the local casino and play her free play on her super double platinum diamond card that she has. And they give you like $135 in free play just for walking in the door every weekend. Can you imagine? What kind of money is she losing? And she tells me, listen, don't go like the fool that you are and sit there at that quarter video poker machine with my free play. She's telling me how to play her free play. Now, my mission with free play is strictly to roll through it so that you can cash it out, right? Like if they give you $100, you have to churn $100, and then you can cash out whatever you have left. So, you hope to hit a couple of things so it stays at 100 or maybe even a little bit higher. Maybe you get lucky, hit a jackpot. That hasn't happened yet. But, I want to cash out the 100. That gives me a free racing form and like $88 to invest right away where I'm not even risking a dime of my own money in the Breeders' Cup Pick 5. Not enough to get a lot of coverage, but enough to get you off to a good start. And she's telling me, don't be playing that video poker. They don't give you any credit for that. Go straight to this machine. Like, Mustang, you're working, man. I'll use your free play whatever way I want, okay? But you know what? I have to admit to a little Svengaliism. I probably will follow her strategy. Now, you have to ask yourself, is it a good thing that they're giving her this money every week?
No, obviously not. There's a reason.
Yeah.
We've said it. The casino, the one Greek jokes about this. He's like, there's a reason it's not Formica, it's granite that casinos are made out of. Like,
massive construction going on there. They're building a city around what was a dump of a harness track that was, about to become as obsolete as any place, right? We're talking about this place. We're going to look like Bowie Racecourse, right? With weeds growing out of whatever. And instead, I mean, literally, they're transforming this place, which should have been just knocked down years ago when they, essentially ended being a big-time harness track. Harness racing kind of dove into the background there and became a distant 18th on the sporting list of activities. Does anybody think, wow, I can't wait to go to the harness races today? No, nobody gives a flying one about it.
Honestly,
Holy Carmine Abatello. I mean, I can't believe I was as passionate about those races at Roosevelt Raceway and Yonkers as I was back in the day. And of course, as I've told many times, I spent my entire junior year at Syracuse University trying to decode the fix at the local harness track, Vernon Downs, which was a shithole. That you were even spending time there is a disgrace. Oh, it's in a very nice area of the country. Okay, great, man. They were running pigs there. It's unbelievable. All right, we're coming back with Mark Lawrence, and then the Gambling Gourmet. Mike Mayo going to join us here. Apologize for the absence of the professor, but probably in need of a standing 8 count right about now. 6, 7. He needs like Carlos Padilla to come in there. That's it. I know he only got tapped on the chin, but I'm going to stop this thing.
Usually it's a good thing, so I say good for him. I'd love to have the big board, but it usually means he did well last night, so good for him.
All right, good. Yeah, Coastal Carolina was a nice play. Whoever thought you would be making a score on Coastal Carolina football, for God's sake. I remember when my friend Billy Mims, who was at one time a basketball coach at a local school, Barry University, and we got to be pretty close, and he ended up becoming a big-time NBA commentator in England, believe it or not, because he started coaching some team in one of the British professional leagues, and then he had a great personality and a tremendous, insight into the game. I was real good at forecasting what was going to happen in various basketball situations, college and pros. And he was on to Coastal Carolina a long time ago as a basketball entity and gave him a shot. And I think they had like some minor run in one of the NCAA tournaments. And that was the first time you ever thought, wow, there's a school there. So as a football entity, they've come out of nowhere also. But now this year, very prominent. Knocked off Appalachian State last night. And people always accord that team that scores the big upset, like Appalachian State beating a lousy Texas A&M team on the road. Still an upset of reasonable proportions. But just like when Middle Tennessee State beat Miami, after that, it's not necessarily a springboard for success. So a lot of times those teams go in the tank. If you're following, it's good to just go take a position against them in subsequent games because they routinely end up becoming, as Dennis Green would say, Coastal Carolina or Appalachian State is who we thought they were. The hillbilly school that nobody knows where the fuck it is. That has a win over Michigan 20 years ago. All right, coming back with Mark Lawrence. He'll break some things down for us here on the Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show, South Florida Live. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
How big were those things? I'm not really a tit guy, but necessarily.
You're an attractive woman. I haven't mentioned her chest at all. I'm not that crude.
I know you didn't mention it. It's just
the Greek.
We got to bust the Greek's balls when he comes on. He hates it too. He hates all these exaggerations about his life. Hates it, man. Can we get the pics? Did you hear him? Can we get to the pics? That was like Mayo look, when we met in the restaurant. What was this deal he was doing yesterday where he made like a crummy looking sandwich and he was talking about it for a half hour? Well, you see this sandwich? Come on, Mike, step it up. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that. That sandwich was a piece of shit, wasn't it? I mean, did you see that thing? It had nothing on it. And then he's complaining that the cheese taste was too overwhelming. Just slap some roast beef on a piece of bread there, kid. How scientific you got to make it. It's 8:25. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Mr. Pentangeli, were you a member of the Corleone family? Under Capo regime, under Vito Corleone, also known as the Godfather?
I never knew no Godfather.
Mr. Pentangeli, you are contradicting a sworn statement you previously made to me and signed. I ask you again, sir, here and now under oath, were you at any time a member of a crime organization headed by Michael Corleone?
I don't know nothing about that. Oh. I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago, that's all.
We have a sworn affidavit. We have it. Your sworn affidavit that you murdered on the orders of Michael Corleone. Do you deny this confession?
Look, the FBI guys, they promised me a deal. So I made up a lot of stuff about Michael Corleone, because that's what they wanted. But it was all lies. Everything. And I kept saying, Michael Corleone did this, and Michael Corleone did that. So I said, yeah, sure.
It's now time for the Defo Show.
Wasn't me. That's the approach to take. Wasn't me.
Yeah, sure.
Polyman had the answer for all of that. Blame it on the dead guy. That's all you have to do. Right? You find out somebody checked out, whatever problems they're trying to ascribe to you. Yeah, it was Pete all along, man. Sponzini all along. All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Mark Lawrence going to join us here in just a few seconds. Playbooksports.com. Always brilliant with his, you talk about sabermetrics, man. This guy invented the whole thing about analytics when it comes to degenerate gambling, brilliant numerology and quantification of various things. And while I've said it many times, I'm not a trend handicapper. I do enjoy listening to this type of logic. And then beyond that, every now and then something clicks in, like the odd, disproportionate number of times that major favorites have prevailed as road teams in the National Football League, especially when the numerology gets to double digits in terms of the home dog. I think, you could just punch out. If that was the only bet that you ever made, if you just waited for certain trends, which Mark Lawrence is brilliant at deducting and coming up with, then you would be a rich man today. But you know what it is, Lubie? We have no self-control, 0.0.
Well, that's the problem is with the professor, with a lot of our guys. Like
he's disciplined, though, the professor. He really is.
You have to follow them all year. It's like a job. Like they don't just that weekend. They do over the season. What are their units for the season?
Right.
But you guys talk. It's dangerous.
No, I just spend whatever's in my pocket, right? I mean, I usually buzz through the first stick. I mean, if I'm having a bad day at the track, that first stick is gone in a couple of races. And then you're thinking, oh, geez, I'm down a stick already. Now, it starts to get ugly with me after 200. It's kind of, look, you need a little bit of money to play with. I've noticed this. I used to bring $40 to the track back in the day.
That's smart.
If I was really going to plunge. Like I would drive from the outskirts of Los Angeles there, like 40 miles out of town where I was living. I guess Ontario was a little bit closer, maybe 30. But it was far closer to Santa Anita, which was one of my favorite places to go. When you had to schlep all the way to Hollywood Park or maybe go down to Los Alamitos for one of the fair meets, they did have a track called the Fairplex, which at that time was known as the Pomona County Fair, LA County Fair at Pomona. And this was one of my favorite tracks because I love the lower rungs of the sickness of degeneracy. And I like being in places, as I've told you many times. I mean, I like the slimy old arenas like the Olympic Auditorium. And, I used to love going to the Comac Arena there to catch an ABA game. I love that kind of stuff. The Pomona racetrack was an absolute abortion as compared to, the grandeur that you're going to see at Keeneland Racecourse today can't even really be fully appreciated on TV. Honestly, Lubie, when you're standing there in the Cathedral of Thoroughbred Racing, and maybe in one of the grandstand positions, and you're looking out over this glorious scene where, especially now as Caton described it, it was almost like you were listening to poetry there. The leaves were changing, and you're seeing these rolling hills of these beautiful horse farms that are right behind the track there. And then you got the blue skies that seem to extend forever. And it's maybe 65 degrees, and you're standing there, and there's nothing but babes in front of you, right? Exactly.
You just sound Rinaldi.
These are the reasons. Am I sounding like I'm going to spring training or something? I know I'm killing time here until we get Mark Lawrence.
You look at the grass, and you smell the air.
But it's true. Once in a while, you do this. I was on the beach yesterday watching the flight of seagulls, Lubie, and thinking that is what life is all about. That's it. Stop worrying about whether your hair is out of place or, maybe you got a piece of, a booger in your right eyeball. And all of a sudden you get in an elevator and there's a girl of your dreams. You're going to blow these moments as a matter of routine. But the appreciation of, true, raw, unadulterated degeneracy, is a worthwhile pursuit. And you're going to see some of that today. But I still like the slimy side of things. I really did. And one of my favorite tracks was this Fairplex in Pomona because they only ran there like for 10 days a year. And it was associated with a county fair that was kind of hillbilly-esque. Even though Los Angeles is considered to be a very sophisticated, metropolitan, cosmopolitan, melting pot, international city and destination. A lot of hicks out there, man. A lot of cowboys. It's not really hillbillies like we have with no teeth. It's more cowboy type of thinking out there. And the truth was, it really looked like a rodeo, and the races did. And what was great was they had a Ferris wheel on the first turn, and it was a razor-sharp first turn. Most horses, if they blew the turn, they ended up on the Ferris wheel. So, your friend will be looking and go, hey, where's the 5? And we're looking, and he's hanging up there saying, is this thing gonna start turning or what? Like, oh, shit, I guess we have no chance in this race. All right, we welcome the show. And this guy's great, way ahead of his time. I always love people like this that are way, 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 way ahead of their time. And that was Mark Lawrence with all of these great quantifying numbers that he's come up with in terms of trying to gauge who to bet on and who to bet against. From playbooksports.com, we welcome the show. Mark Lawrence joins us here on the program. Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing just terrific, Defo. How are you guys doing?
Good morning, sir.
I'm not doing so great in a few respects. It's going to be a great day. You have the Breeders' Cup going and all of this football activity. World Series is still in action. Hockey, basketball going. But I was trying to, and when I was taking odds and probability, at least I know how to calculate this, but I haven't done the math. I think, are there 60 numbers in the field in the Powerball? 60? Does it go up to 60 or does it go higher? I'm not sure. Because it is impossible. If it was 60... to figure your odds of winning, you would multiply 60 times 59 times 58 times 57 times 56, and then factor in a 60-1 proposition at the end. I don't know if you know the numerology there, but it gives you what? not even the slightest bit of a fat
Gives you
chance
no
of winning.
chance at all of winning, is what it gives.
And people think we're sick for betting against the spread.
Exactly.
In a 50-50 proposition, essentially, even with the points, somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, except for the, occasional push. But, you still have a, coin flip possibility there. All right. Were you like a lot of people all over coastal Carolina last night, Mark Lawrence?
Yeah, I was a coastal Carolina guy last night, Defo, yes.
Getting 3 points at home there. And did you
outright.
think, when you were a young Mark Lawrence growing up and these degenerate seeds were first beginning to germinate, and you were, calculating things and surprising your math teachers at how well you were able to pick against point spreads, did you ever conceive that there would be a day where you warmly embraced coastal Carolina in a football game?
I really never considered a day that I would know what a home dog was.
Obviously, a very guarded, maybe misguided childhood there.
Yeah,
That's great. Now, have you ever argued? And Lubie, cleared me up on this because I wasn't exactly sure what your relationship status is. I would imagine being a guy that's involved in gambling, we're usually very inept at affairs of the heart. But Lubie tells me that you told us on one of the Valentine's Day shows we were doing that you've been happily married for a long, long time. I don't know if we throw in happily, but obviously it's been working for a long time. Have you ever argued with the wife over possible Powerball winnings about how to disperse the funds?
Before it's happened.
Before obviously no one's won this thing.
Well, the day that starts is the day that the marriage is no longer intact. Okay.
Yeah.
Arguing about how those funds are going to be dispersed. But
She didn't want me to buy an adjoining house on the Hillsborough Mile for $50 million for like her family. She thought that was a bad idea. I'm like, well, we don't have the money. I mean, it's not happening. Hot argument.
I'm not a
hot-tempered argument.
powerful guy at all. I'm sorry.
All right, we want to get into some plays here, and I know you have many things working, but let's do it. Let's go college slate. Now, obviously, the marquee game is Tennessee Georgia. I don't know if you're in on that one, but and Lubie is very concerned about Florida State and Miami. Once a big time rivalry game, kind of an afterthought now. What do we have for us this week from PlaybookSports.com? Mark Lawrence with what I think is going to be a quartet of dogs right here on the college and the pros.
It will be a quartet of dogs, no question about that. So we're going to start out college football wise. It's that time of the year where the noose gets tighter and tighter and tighter for these undefeated football teams. And when they begin the season 8-0 or better, we start to make cases to play against these guys.
All right.
One's because of the pressure. Two, because they oftentimes play down to the level of opposition. And we've got a couple of guys that fit that bill on the card here this Saturday. First is going to be Rutgers, and we're going to take the ugly points against Michigan, mighty Michigan, who are out on the road with this 8-0 record. You've got Rutgers, a football team here that is battling for their bowl life, if you will. They're 4-4 in the football season here. Now, they don't know or realize that they're not going to beat Michigan, but at least they're going to take the field. Greg Schiano's going to tell them that they have a chance to beat Michigan. They're going to go out there and come with everything they've got for their best effort. I think the points here are very, very attractive. And not that Michigan has a look ahead here. It's just that Michigan played this Charmin-like schedule to begin the football season. And because of that, they missed out on the top 4 rankings in the initial college football playoff poll. So, you can't blame the players because they can only play who's in front of them. But this very, very soft schedule they've taken on here, it will find them playing down to the level of opposition. I think the noose gets tighter on Michigan on Saturday.
All right, Rutgers. I struggle with that. I think I had Rutgers in my personal bookmaking venture with my buddy Francesco. And wow, did they play an ugly game. And I forget which game it was. It was a few weeks back. And they were turning the ball over. I mean, like it might have been Iowa or Idaho, one of those teams from that area of the country. And they just kept turning the ball over and eventually succumbed to the point spread. But you're probably onto something there, Mark Lawrence. I definitely would think that was worth a look. Getting 25 and a hook
Yep.
with Rutgers. But as soon as you said Rutgers, I had a little acid reflux reaction there because that ham and egg sandwich that I had for breakfast it was right here in my Adam's apple. Because usually wince whenever somebody suggests playing Rutgers in anything. Shiano did have them rolling at one time, but it hasn't been the greatest of years. I didn't realize they were 4-4 though, because every time I see them, they're getting clobbered by whoever they're playing. So, and people think they don't belong in the Big Ten.
They were shut
Minnesota,
out.
they got annihilated by Minnesota.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Good call there. All right. What else do we have? I mean, which other undefeated team are you going against?
Well, we're gonna look at the news getting real tight this week on TCU here as well.
Nice.
They're going to play Texas Tech this weekend, and now this is a Texas Tech football team that can play. They have only been out-yarded in one football game they played thus far this football season, has Texas Tech. And they're sitting here right now at also 4-4 on the season, looking to become a bowl-eligible football team. These are the spots you'll find that these undefeated football teams choke up in.
Yep.
And who does TCU have up on deck next week? Texas Longhorns. So this ends up being a nice look-ahead spot, and the noose getting tighter and tighter against TCU. I think Texas Tech pulls the upset in this game.
All right, the noose is loose. The theory on the two college games, and going against a couple of programs that are having great seasons. TCU has become a darling of virtually everybody, so it might be time to throw a couple of heavy below-the-belt body shots at them, with TCU getting 8.5. And Rutgers, wow, I mean, a lot of people would have thought, my God, the man has gone criminally insane, but taking Rutgers, getting 25 and a hook.
I mean, 25.
It's 3.5 touchdowns against Michigan. Michigan having a great season and making a legitimate case to belong in the playoffs. But also, as you said, I mean, in between games here, it's one of those funky times. So maybe they do enough to win the game, but not enough to annihilate Rutgers to that extent. All right, let's move to the pros. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com.
Pro football, the cards are a little bit thinned out this week, Defo, if for no other reason because there's 6 teams that are off on a bye, which obviously gives us fewer teams to work with here. But those that we have, we're gonna go back to our old reliable, the Exxon Valdez. Not the Exxon Valdez. We're gonna go back to those good-looking bods, those teams that have better offenses and better defenses.
All right,
it's underdogs in football games. So that's like what a manager does when he looks at the bullpen. He sees, well, my goodness, we don't have a whole lot there to choose from here, but we can at least go to our closer, the guy that's reliable, and those are the bods. The first bod, better offense, better defensive dog, is Indianapolis, playing this week against New England. And while the Colts right now are in a bit of disarray, obviously with the quarterback situation, they've at least got a quarterback that plays with some spark. I mean, Sam Ellinger, he didn't win the football game last week against Washington, but he had the football team very, very competitive. In New England, they're going to be trying to take down the Patriots this particular week. Look at the stats inside of New England here: 130 and 99 yards in each of their last 2 football games. This is the team that has problems right now, is New England, and it's largely because of the quarterback situation. He's insisted on staying with Mac Jones, and Mac Jones's numbers are horrific. He's stubborn as he is, Bill Belichick. He'll make it to the bye week. He's got a bye after this. He'll make it to the bye week and probably decide exactly what road they're going to go. But in the meantime, the Colts, the better-looking offense, the better-looking defense. And remember this, Defo, they've only allowed more than 24 points in one game this year, have the Colts. Their defense has been pretty staunch in football games this year, so we'll play them plus the points for our first-looking bod on the NFL football card.
All right, and Belichick seems to be, going in the right direction, although he's got this Bailey Zappi guy that, for whatever reason, he's afraid to do the old Brady Bledsoe maneuver here and sit the guy that looked like he was going to be. I thought Mac Jones was going to be very good. Maybe he will come back, bounce back, and be very good, but he hasn't been very good this year. And Lubie has been giving me the business. The old Ben Dreith thing, saying, hey, you see, you were wrong, Defo. You were wrong about this guy. He sucks. So we'll see if that holds up for Mark Lawrence here, getting 5 and a hook Colts over the Patriots on the road. All right, what's the last selection here from PlaybookSports.com?
We're going to go Monday night. We're going to take the points with New Orleans at home against Baltimore. Once again, better offense, better defense, and we'll take the points there as well. In Baltimore, you have a football team that has a lot of holes right now, and I know they made this trade for Roquan Smith. Is going to be maybe the best pickup at the draft if Christian McCaffrey isn't. He's going to end up helping the football team, at least defensively, and that's where they really need help. They've been out-yarded in 5 of their 8 football games this year, has Baltimore, and is not the football team that they expected to be. Go back and look at their offensive point production here in the last 5 games. They've averaged only 22 points a game. Now they're going to go out on the road and lay points into a New Orleans football team that is really playing under the radar good football here. In the last 4 football games, they've out-yarded their opponents an average of 100 yards a game, won all 4 of them in the stats. Now they're coming back in a Rodney Dangerfield type role, if you will. They threw a home shutout last week against Vegas, and what do? Dress up as a home underdog again this week. I think this is a nice spot for New Orleans, being this under-the-radar team that nobody's really, really keen on right now to take advantage of the points. I'll do that with New Orleans for our good-looking bod on the NFL card this week.
Noose is loose and the better bonds, both coming from Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com. Mark, how can people get involved with more of your information? Because you do it all there at Playbook Sports. And I mean that it's not meant to be cliche. It's not something you would hear like on Proline. But, I mean, it's true. You really you cover the full spectrum, especially statistically and numerology-wise, when it comes to handicapping all sports.
That we do, Defo. We do a lot of it in our what we call our midweek alert football newsletter. That's our daily racing form of newsletters. It's all about the statistics, and a lot of these bods we talk about, better offenses, better defenses, they come out of the newsletters like that. We publish 3 newsletters: that midweek alert, the totals tip sheet, the only over/under totals tip sheet in the country, and our weekly Playbook football newsletter. You can check them out all online at PlaybookSports.com.
Fantastic.
All right. As they used to say on Laugh-In, very interesting, those plays that you presented for us. Mark Lawrence, thanks as always for joining us, my friend. And good luck in the Powerball.
My pleasure, Defo. As always, enjoy the Breeders' Cup as well, guys, okay?
Yes, good
All
luck.
right, thanks a lot. Julian says, I'm going to take him at his word, 292 million to 1.
Yeah, it's about right.
It's a long shot. All right, you want to just go right into Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet here?
I think
What do you think?
I don't know. He said he was lingering around. So join us, Mike Mayo.
Okay. All right. Mike Mayo's going to check in here, the Gambling Gourmet. Now, we're going to be with Mike later on today, stuffing down food at, what is that? Seaside Subs, right? Mike Mayo, huh?
And he was already
Seaside Subs.
The greatest, and that used to be my favorite thing is when we get there, he does the, hey, how you doing? Oh, what a great place. All right, now what really matters. And then he goes through the whole menu. What was great yesterday is he was already on air with us talking yesterday about the menu for today. So he's literally now prepping the 15 items that they'll put on the table for 3 people, where we have to pretend like we're going to eat all the food when it's mathematically impossible for us to eat all this food. He's now doing it a day in advance.
Lurking inside this ink-stained wretch when he was writing for the newspapers for like 30-some-odd wasted years was an electronic media freebie artist that we have been practicing for 40-plus years here.
Is it called a schnorrer, a schlepper, or a grifter? What is it?
I go with schnorr, yeah. I mean, it's definitely
All right.
snoring.
Well, first of all, good morning, gentlemen.
How are
you? I want to just greet you this morning by saying, fuck you, Defo.
Oh, get out of here. That sandwich was pathetic.
You keep disparaging my roast beef sandwich. Today, you're going to see.
I look like a sandwich, literally, a spam sandwich you would get in prison.
Sarnie liked my sandwich. Okay, sometimes.
Sarnie, though, I mean, come on.
Sarnie never eats. We
He owns you, yeah.
I'm in a very, I'm in a mood like my coffee today.
You should be happy today. You have everything on the horizon here. Breeders' Cup, pick 5, my friend.
I should be, but you're going around disparaging my roast beef sandwich.
That was sad.
And then I have to deal with Dick Steen is in it. Whatever. I'm in like app hell, getting texts at 11 at night. The guy in India needs some image. It's like a fucking madhouse.
And
I think this. I don't know how much Dick Steen is paying you, and what your stake is in the company if it ever goes big. But you might want to reconsider there.
I got to tell you, after this week, I'm reconsidering.
I've been involved in those deals.
All my life choices, including.
Doing this show. Get out of here! You're not reconsidering that.
No, come on. It's all good. But
you
I'm
found the system that works finally. All these years, you've been looking for a system. You go in there like Mr. Big. The people are scared to death that you're going to say something negative about the place. Find a roach or something. And even though they're on the up and up all the way through, then you look at the menu and you go, okay, we're going to need 2 of those chicken parms, a roast beef. The kid over here wants a knish. It's great, man. I mean, full command.
Talk about systems. I got to give you props because the Gambling Gourmet had a very profitable horse racing weekend, the Breeders' Cup last week, because I needed to get some, bullets in the holster for Breeders' Cup weekend.
And you held on to this money till today? Nice.
Yeah. So, I'm not a complete degenerate, just a half degenerate. So when I make a
you're kidding yourself. You need to go to some meetings if you don't believe you're a complete degenerate.
Well, that's
what do you think about 24 hours a day? If it wasn't food, maybe sex. It's gambling. I know you now.
That's
gambling. I love the fact that you were a sicker degenerate than even I thought.
And I'm judging that Taste of Recovery event, and I'm glad Louis Bossi told me that at that clubhouse, the Crossroads Clubhouse. Besides having the Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, they also have the Gambling Anonymous.
Yes,
and I might be.
I choose. I don't gamble anonymously because you know that everybody knows me at the track there, which is a sign in and of itself that maybe you need to change the direction of your life. I want to say this about Louis Bossi though, on the food front. Okay, because and I told you before, I wasn't a big fan of the margarita pizza in general. I like more conventional stuff, but and I'll try different things. Like I'm a big fan of the pizza spot, and I don't mind that we don't have New York style pizza here. That's fine with me. And we've talked about that a lot. But that margarita pizza that he made, right down to its final bites, tasted very much. I mean, he said it was a replica of what you get in Italy. It really was, very, very, very much like a margarita pizza from Italy.
Yeah, spongy and soft, and you could eat
nice
it with
job,
a fork and knife, and they use good ingredients. That was nice. It was a nice show. No, I was trying to pay you a compliment because I used your system, the back wheeling of a horse that you like, in the exactas last weekend, and it paid off. I happened to like 2 long shots in races at Churchill last weekend on both Saturday and Sunday. And I played Win Place, and I played them in exactas, and I back wheeled them in the exacta. One was like a 20-1 shot, one was like a 17-1 shot, and both times big bombs came up on top of them, and they finished second. So one I collected was like $460 exactly for $1, and then on Sunday that was the one that came back short because it was like a $76 horse on top of a 21. I thought it was going to be like $900 for $1. It came back only $423, but I came out of last week.
Still, that's a dime. Yeah, that's good.
No, I came out, and then I hit on Friday with you. At remember, I won 3 sticks. So I'm loaded for bear, and I'm very.
You had another tip horse that you back wheeled, and a long shot beat that horse to the wire.
Yeah, that was up at Belmont. That was on Friday. So that was another.
I'm glad you're using a back wheel system because you always have to figure how can I get fucked. And you have a good opinion on everything, and then your horse gets beat by a nose somehow. Some rat comes out of the woodwork there, like Rich Strike in the Derby, and I mean that's how you get fucked. But if you're sitting there with the back wheel, now you're benefiting. Yes,
the all button is your friend, but
Yeah.
The all button is very dangerous this weekend when you have all these loaded 14-horse fields because it gets a little bit expensive to hit those.
It's worth it
buttons.
though. You know,
Yeah,
for
no,
12
no,
bucks or
because
so.
this is the weekend and where you got, talk about the Powerball and dividing your winnings. Fuck that. I mean, that's impossible to hit. But the Breeders' Cup, if you actually just hit one or two races, you could be walking around with a nice bulge in your pocket. And
No
that's
doubt.
the only way I get my thrills now is having a bulge of $100 bills in my pocket.
Very satisfying and more long term, I think, than the other.
Hey, before we
Edition.
get into the Breeders' Cup,
What do you got
and,
there? You got your Kyrie Cup?
No, yeah. Like I just got to, I'm in a very, very bitter mood today, and a big fuck you to Kyrie Irving. So
Yeah.
instead of having my usual grumpy mug today, I have my I'm a coffee drinking member of Temple Beth and that's in Margate. Now, I'm not actually a member of Temple Beth but I did a speaking
When
gig
was the
there
last
once.
time you were there? Yeah.
No, it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago when I
All right.
was I was still a news columnist, the Sun Sentinel, and I was invited out by some of the membership, and I gave a little speech, and but they gave me this mug. So and to reconnect with my fading Judaism, I always I have this coffee mug handy, and today, you know what? It surprised me that the league didn't sanction him, that it took the Nets to sanction him. You mentioned that, Adam Silver, a little disappointing.
Disgrace.
Look, if Kyrie Irving wants to be anti-vax or flat earth, that's his business. And the
Sure.
only people who listen to that and will follow him will either fall off the edge of the earth or not get their vaccine and die of COVID. That's only harming the people who want to believe that nonsense. But when you start regurgitating this Holocaust denial nonsense, it just offends me to my very core. On my mother's side of the family, she lost relatives to the Holocaust. She showed me pictures of some of her younger cousins who were killed in Hitler's gas and extermination camps. And there's just no place for this. And I'm very disturbed that something like this, could be happening again, where we see the waves of, you caught this last week at the Jacksonville, at the big cocktail party game, that somebody commandeered the scoreboard and beamed on these, anti-Semitic messages. And I urge everybody out there, I hate to get serious in this fucking Gambling Gourmet Saturday, but just please go out and reread or read for the first time, if you've never read it, Night by Elie Wiesel.
Yep.
And of course, The Diary of Anne Frank. Just read those two books, and it'll show you how quickly things can change in the world, and how, you say, oh, never again, it can't happen here. Well, you know what? It can, and it might. And I'm scared now. And even though if you're a secular Jew or whatever, Defo, Lubie, me, when the next Hitler comes and the mobs are coming around, they're going to consider us Jews because it's in our blood. And, whatever happened to just, love, harmony, peace, reconciliation? Why are blacks feuding with Jews? I mean, we're on the same team. We were both enslaved.
There's always a
We've both been
union there in
shit
Brooklyn.
on our whole lives, and always the scapegoat. And for Kyrie Irving to do, I don't want to have time for nonsense, but when people like this have huge Twitter followings and people, have influence, it enrages me to my core. So fuck him. Let's move on to the horses. Let's make some money.
Well, and just to add to that, I mean, my mother went to her grave still talking about the Nazis. She happened to be, and it shows you the fragility and just the unique oddball nature of life that I'm even here, because she left my grandfather last boat out, literally last boat out. She was from Danzig, which was the free city between Poland and Germany. They were rounding up Jewish people there, and that they got literally on the last boat out. And that's how they came to America.
Yeah,
and,
so
through oddball circumstances,
yeah,
my
your
father
whole
and mother
existence
met, and here we are. Yeah.
It's essentially a free roll. You're free
But she
roll
never
with
let
your
that go.
life. Yeah.
I would tell my mother, stop it already with this Nazi stuff.
No,
and,
don't ever stop.
She
You
never
have to be
let
reminded.
it go. I mean, this whole thing about the Holocaust, because she was horrified as a child.
My mother's side, literally, that whole entire side was wiped out by the Holocaust. My great grandfather got out to America in 1932, and because of how it works, which is why I'm not hard on immigrants trying to get in America, he did it legally. So it took 7 years to get my great grandmother and my grandmother out. They literally if you look at the date, it lines up. Poland, 1939. What happens in Poland in 1939? They were the last boat to get out of Poland in 1939.
They were on the same ship. There you go.
Probably what? Well, you were Germany. They were Poland.
Well, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Probably very similar boat.
No,
and that I would not exist without that. And she lost to all her brothers and sisters, her parents, everyone. So to me, this is how this starts, where someone says some crazy shit and other people are like, yeah, you know what? That might be true. And then it gets
too many people are embracing it. That's the problem.
That's the problem. It's become untapped, and there's something very dark and ugly in an undercurrent of modern day America. And it's not just America; it's across the globe. This whole nationalism and populism. They call it populism. It's.
I just hope to get out alive. And with a pick 5 ticket today, I want to be alive after the first race.
All right,
now,
let's
have
get
you
back
looked
into
at this,
the,
Mike Mayo? Let's.
I have, and I heard Caton, and I'm glad to hear that. She's on board with chocolate gelato. Which, me, I love my food horses no matter what, but especially when they look good on paper. And chop I've been touting. So, I'm going to be today. I'm looking forward to these because it's just so much fun. All these wide open competitive races, and we're going to be going to Seaside Subs later, and then me and you maybe we'll skip right along to a parimutuel facility.
Oh no, I'm going straight down there to
in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, Chop Chop and Chocolate Gelato. Throw a couple of the other bombers in there that we'll see. We'll probably backwheel Chop Chop and see what happens there. But in that juvenile filly turf race, she liked that number 13 horse. I like the 14 horse again with the drink angle. Basil Martini, Basil, depending if you're in England or Brooklyn. But I'm going to call it Basil Martini, and I like that one with Johnny V aboard. And then in the juveniles, as much as Cave Rock looks formidable on paper, what happens to Baffert when he gets out of California under the prying eyes of Kentucky? I don't know. I'm going to try to go with Pletcher and my friend Vinny Viola's horse, along with Mike Ripoli, Forte, which means strong. I'm going to try to knock off Cave Rock with Forte in the juvenile and bring things home in that last leg, the juvenile turf, with a bunch of the Euro dogs, along with I guess there's a I can't even read my notes now, but it's okay. There's very good, very nice. Let's see what I got here.
I'm very busy.
I'm very busy, right? Which seems to match my life at
Pratt,
this point.
Chad Brown special.
Chad Brown's horse, along with some of the Euros. Try to put together a pick 5 ticket. Try to hit a couple exactas in these races.
How much will you put into the pick 5 with all that money you have stashed? You've got a dime to work with.
Yeah, no, I'm today. I'm.
Are you going to try and hit it with like a $4 ticket?
No, I'm putting. Yeah, that's the fun. I like hitting, and usually most of my success in life and my biggest tickets have been tickets between $6 and $18, and I don't invest more than like $40 into a given.
Do you buy
pool.
A big ticket and then a subsequent smaller ticket?
You have your A ticket,
a couple
your
of
B
other
ticket.
horses.
I'm probably going to have a $24 ticket, a $12 ticket, and yeah, I mean, I'm putting 200 into the account today. I'm going to try to turn that 200 into the 2,000.
Mayo with a deuce. Beautiful.
No, and
you're dangerous with a deuce. I know.
Last week I only put $100 in on the Friday, and again I kept withdrawing. I turned that 100 into 1,200, and that was a good weekend. Trying to do the same thing today. I'll start with the 200, put some win money on Chop Chop and Chocolate Gelato.
This is our Powerball here. I mean,
this is
great,
it.
Great
Who needs Powerball? This is fun. You have some more control, and you actually have a shot. And you could actually argue for real about what you do with the winnings when you actually have winnings in your pocket.
No, those are kept secret. What are you talking about? If you actually hit something, right? I'll put 200 in a cookie jar, and then hidden away in my stash drawer, what will be the other 2 dimes?
Yeah, but tomorrow, okay, so Cyberknife is not going in the Classic, is going in a softer spot in the Breeders' Cup Dirt.
You love that horse.
And I love that horse for 2 reasons. First of all, he's made me a lot of money this year so far. He's a good horse. He's ridden by Florent Giroux in the Swan Song for the Bredar household. And Cyberknife is a type of like kind of a laser surgery or a radiation treatment actually for cancer. And it's the treatment. That's the treatment, Cyberknife radiation, that helped save my mom's life when she had some brain tumors. And so sentimental reasons, love Cyberknife. And I'm going to bet on him and plunge on him tomorrow with whatever I have left. That's going to be in the Dirt Mile. And then talking about my mother, my brother read her the names of the entries of the big Breeders' Cup Classic. And even though everybody who's anybody in the world is loving Flightline and can't go against, my mom heard the name Life is Good and said, that's the winner. So in honor of B. Mayo, I will be plunging on Life is Good. Better value. Damn good horse. Maybe Flightline bounces a little bit off his huge numbers that he ran in the last race, and maybe he won't take to the Keeneland track first time going over.
Have to hope for some kind of fluke situation, to intervene here, and then beat that horse. I have to backwheel Epicenter in that race, regardless, and hope that Flightline is nowhere. Maybe the guy holds him in the gate there. Who knows? I mean, you catch that one miracle.
One word for you. Arkong. I mean, huge upsets happen in the Breeders' Cup.
Gurgles had Arkong to complete like a giant ticket that year.
That's
by like
insane.
arbitrary luck somehow. He ended up having Arcang with Jerry Bailey.
Jerry
in
Bailey.
the irons.
When
yeah.
do you ever get Bailey on a $200 horse? That's
Well, and the classic, of course, was that the that was the pick six that was rigged by those guys that were operating out of some betting hub in upstate New York, and they had figured out a way to beat the system by they had the backup system on hold there that computer wise, and they gave them like 3 seconds to punch out all the winning tickets that they could when they already knew the result of the race. And had Arcang not won that race, they would have gotten away with it. But somehow, with a $200 horse, they ended up having to pick six times, which naturally aroused suspicion, as they had the first 3 winners, which they knew who they were, with all. And had that not happened, they wouldn't have uncovered one of the brilliant betting schemes of all time. And it was one of those things, where right out of American Gangster, had they quit while they were ahead, it wouldn't have been the same as quitting. But they had to go for one more plunge after that, and
it's
all
always
of a sudden they were discovered.
It's
yeah.
always the greed that gets you, either the
All right.
greed or the cover up. All right, we got to get out.
Well,
of
what
here.
are we
See you
ordering
at
here?
Seaside
What's on
Subs.
the menu
Everything.
there?
Give me
Yeah.
the whole left side of the menu.
You had a couple of favorites there, though, at Seaside Subs.
Well,
and
No, the
people are welcome
chicken
to join us.
chicken parm is among the best I've ever had anywhere, and let alone in South Florida. Because
You said that before, though, about other places, so I'm wondering about that.
Okay, fine. You want to go in with your skepticism? Go ahead. But
No, I'm optimistic. Every place we've been has been great. It's really true. We
the
haven't
chicken
been to a
parm
place
with
yet
the
where you went,
Bacchus. It's on a kind of a heftier, crunchy semolina sesame seeded Italian sub roll.
2 big legs up for Mayo.
And that vodka sauce really makes it. And Andrew and Dawn
I'm
are
a
great
fan
at
of
Seaside
that.
Sub. And the Big Dave is kind of a roast beef. Big Dave is a roast beef sandwich. It's melted, like, I don't know if it's provolone or some sort of cheese that's melted, and then it's like a dipping au jus, and it's just like those 2 sandwiches alone are devastating. Of course, they have a good Italian. It's a classic.
How's the tuna sub? You haven't had one. I wouldn't have mentioned.
No, I have not had. I'm not 70 yet, Defo. So I'll tell you when I'm 70.
like
But I'm
it.
sure.
I mean, there you go, disparaging about older people, man. You're like Marco Rubio here.
If you're gonna rag on me for my well-constructed yet modest roast
No,
beef
that
sandwich,
sandwich
I'm
was a
gonna
piece of shit.
harsh
I have to say, it was one of the worst I've ever seen. It was like you eating those stale chips on the air. Maybe
Fuck
a bag
you
of
and the
Cheetos
horse
might
you
be
rode in on,
appropriate.
that horse that's gonna finish
Don't
way
fuck me
back.
on my horses here today, man. We're partners on this.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know I root for you when we're at the track.
All right, let's go.
Not
I
as
gotta
much
get
as I
out of
root
here.
for me.
I got
but,
a busy morning. I'll see you guys up there at Seaside Subs lunchbox at noon.
Dick Steen is the one you should be telling to, go bleep himself. All right. We had to get rid of Mayo there. He was getting out of control. All right. A lot of fun being with you. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was great. Sorry about the professor not being with us. It's always a highlight. Mark Lawrence with his underdogs. That was terrific. Caton Bredar with some insight into what's happening at the Breeders' Cup. That was real insight. Mayo is a good handicapper, I have to say. I witnessed him come up with some theories that, he digs a little deeper into it than a lot of people do. Breeding angles, and not afraid to just play like a blatant hunch. Based on names and numerology. So I'm thinking he's going to do pretty well today. Obviously, he was up a dime or whatever, 1,200 from just a week ago. And he did. He hit enormous exactas with the back wheel system, which was good. Yeah, you hate that when, and sometimes it's so beneficial, right? Where, your horse ended up losing. Now, Andy says, and this is also true, that when you back wheeling essentially means you're going to have every other horse in the race with the horse that you've picked in second position. I started back-wheeling favorites because favorites routinely run second, or they do. I don't know if it's any high percentage, but you have to do a little handicapping with it. Like, okay, here's a horse that's going to go to the front, and somebody's going to mow him down, or is going to close but come too late to win the race because they're going to let somebody go off and steal it. So you're kind of trying to find a horse that fits the MO of a horse that is going to run well but not win the race. And Andy says when he does that, then the horse routinely runs third, which you can also cover your ass in by taking like a 50-cent try. Is this getting too sophisticated for people?
Yes, it is.
And going all with your horse in third. Okay. Now, I mean, if 2 bombs come in ahead of that horse, and whether he's a long shot or not, you're coming into a substantial payoff at that point, if you can happen to connect on that. Invariably with me, when I back wheel or put a horse in third, he wins the race. And I don't have a dime on him to win. So if there's a way to fuck it up, we'll find it. All right, we have to run. Well, we'll come back with more. We'll see you Seaside Subs, 12 o'clock today with Mike Mayo, the Mike Mayo Lunchbox, very popular show. Let's Eat South Florida on the Facebook page. And, of course, we want you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is South Florida Live, because that's where the money is for us.
Yeah.
And we want to show some results there. So please, if you're following the program on other sources, subscribe to South Florida Live on the YouTube channel, and Lubie and I will prosper and be able to do this for a longer period of time because we both need the money, and maybe even more so after I exacerbate and just get rid of all of that free play on the Mustang's instructions, and end up coming out of my own pocket for my Pick 5 ticket here on the Breeders' Cup. All right, see you later. We have to run, and we'll catch you later on a Mike Mayo Lunchbox. Till then, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time as we leave. You know that.
The time.
You know where I'm going if I win today? Straight down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. It's 10 after 9.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.